Chapter 621. Oh ho, so you think I'm easy to deal with. Temple of the Creator God. There's a lot today as well. Swish. Amila poured tiny, jewel-like beads that emitted a brilliant color into a container. These were byproducts from the process of transforming the incomplete Creator God's tears into the great growth elixir. Even the Creator God did not know what these beads actually were, so Amila continued to collect them. They might be useful someday. At that moment, click. The bead Amila had just added adhered to an existing one. Huh. Amila picked up the fused beads to examine them. What is this? There was nothing particularly special about them, except that they clung together as if they had found their perfect match. She could forcefully separate the two beads, but the moment she brought them close again, they clicked back together like magnets. Could the others be the same? Curious about the bead's secret, Amila picked up the container filled with them and gave it a shake. Then, click jajag. The beads began to combine with one another. As she kept shaking the container, the clicking sounds eventually ceased, as if all the beads had found their respective pairs. Amila peered inside. Inside, there were still a few beads that remained unmatched, but several had formed into flat, plate-like shapes. The beads only combined in a two-dimensional manner. Amila picked up one of the plates to examine it. This is a drawing. She discovered that something was drawn on the plate. However, even the largest plate was no bigger than a palm, and since it had holes scattered across it, she couldn't discern what the picture was. She had no idea how large the full image was, or how many pieces it consisted of. The only thing she could tell was that the drawing was created with dark, muted tones, giving it a rather somber and gloomy atmosphere. Perhaps the Creator God might know more. Creator God, please take a look at this. Amila grabbed the container of beads and ran to the Creator God. And then, this is that child's memory. The moment the Creator God laid eyes on the plates, they immediately recognized that the images depicted the memories of destruction. A single fragment from an unimaginably vast memory made up of trillions of pieces, something that could not be understood just by looking at the powerless beads on their own. It had clearly been hidden away to escape someone's sight, yet at the same time, it was also meant to be revealed to someone. That child's favorite thing was solving puzzles. So I shouldn't give up just yet. Recalling the child who used to play puzzles with them, the Creator God began shifting and arranging the bead-formed plates. However, I have no idea. They couldn't even begin to guess what kind of memory it was. What in the world happened to you? With a sorrowful expression, the Creator God gazed at the empty spaces where the beads had not yet been filled in. The gaps were as vast as the distance between them and destruction, and they contained countless untold stories. 99th floor of the Black Tower. Guys, make sure to guard the house well. Were. Kwek. At Sejun's words, the poisonous bees and mushroom ants responded enthusiastically, as if to assure him that he could count on them. Moo. Even the black minotaurs joined in. It was unlikely that anyone reckless enough to attempt stealing from the 99th floor of the tower even existed, but Sejun had been raised with the habit of always locking up securely before leaving. At that moment, the tower's administrator in a serious voice tells you not to worry, as she will also keep a close watch. Aileen also responded to Sejun's words. Okay, then I'll trust you, Aileen, and be back soon. Sejun exchanged farewells with Aileen and moved to the waypoint with his companions. And then you have arrived at the 99th floor of the Silver Tower. Sejun, welcome. Having been informed in advance by Chrysella of Sejun's visit, the boss of the 99th floor of the Silver Tower, the giant silver monkey Darius, greeted Sejun warmly. Yes, hello. After exchanging greetings with Darius. All right, I'm heading off now. They moved back to the 82nd floor of the tower. While gathering information yesterday on how to weaken the winds of the Silver Tower. Me, I know something. Pose had claimed to know something. You have arrived at the 82nd floor of the Silver Tower. As soon as Sejun arrived on the 82nd floor of the tower, Sejun and welcome. One of Pose's massive vines waved towards Sejun in greeting. Around them, the residents of the Silver Tower were busily picking grapes from Pose's vines. Pose was still maintaining Sejun's policy. Harvesting 1,000 green grape clusters would earn them 3 grapes. Yeah, Pose, have you been doing well? Yes, of course, as long as I have Sejunim and Fla. Fla? No, I meant I was unhappy because you weren't here, Sejunim. Pose, who was about to say Flamey's name, quickly corrected itself. Heh, well, no need to be that dramatic. Feeling pleased by Pose's words, Sejun scratched his head. Pew Hut, Chairman Park is your head itchy, meow. That's why you need to wash thoroughly, meow. Where meow? I Vice Chairman Theo will personally groom Chairman Park's hair, meow. Theo quickly climbed onto Sejun's head and started licking his hair. Hey, get off, I washed my hair today. Meow, I can do a great job, meow, just trust me, meow. Of course, thanks to Sejun's protests, Theo didn't get to lick much. And so, Pose managed to avoid the crisis. I overheard some of the employees talking. There's a storm that appears suddenly and vanishes just as quickly. Pose shared what it knew with Sejun. A storm. Yes, it's said to be so powerful that it devastates everything around it whenever it appears. If we get rid of that storm, wouldn't that weaken the winds of the Silver Tower? Pose's words made a lot of sense. On top of that, Kyung. Haha, Pose's fruit is delicious. Really, Kyunginem, please eat as much as you like. They had Kyungi, who wielded the power of storms. Haha, a mere storm is nothing. So, do we just have to wait for the storm to appear? As Sejun, having finished his calculations, was considering how to encounter the storm. Greetings, I am Charlie, the legendary merchant of the Silver Tower. A silver-furred weasel appeared. Since I'll become a subordinate anyway, I should make a good first impression. Determined to become a full-time employee voluntarily, Charlie had a very positive mindset. However, nice to meet you, Charlie. I'm Park Sejun. It's not Charlie, it's Charlie. Please don't change my name as you please. He couldn't tolerate his name being altered. Hack, did you just raise your voice at our great hybrid Chairman Park, meow? Unforgivable, meow. Since you did wrong, come here and get stamped, meow. No, Sejunim changed my name. Heck. Yes. Thud. And so, contrary to his plans, Charlie was forcibly turned into a full-time employee instead of voluntarily becoming one. And then, Pew Hut, Charlie, if you have lots of money, give me some, meow. It's Charlie, not Charlie. Heck. Yes. He even had to pay tribute. While Charlie went home to get money. If I do this right, I might be able to achieve 2 great achievements. As he waited for the storm, Sejun contemplated how to fulfill another Silver Tower condition. Previously, he had achieved great achievements when he commanded 1 million employees and fed 1 million people. If he recruited more employees and fed them well, he could quickly rack up 2 great achievements. Currently, Sejun Company had about 1.7 million employees. He only needed 300,000 more to reach the achievement. Moreover, this place had many residents eager to become employees of Sejun Company. It was an opportunity to achieve the great accomplishment swiftly. Vice Chairman Theo, let's hire some employees. Pew Hut, got it, meow. From now on, I will be recruiting employees for Sejun Company, meow. Come and get stamped, meow. Excited by Sejun's words, Theo shouted enthusiastically. They're hearing for Sejun Company. Does this mean we can finally eat as many green grapes as we want? The residents of the Silver Tower, who had been working by harvesting Pose's green grapes, quickly lined up in front of Theo. And then, stamp. They received a stamp from Theo and became 1-year contract employees. You have acquired 1 slave. Due to the effect of title, Slave King, all stats increase by 0.01. Thanks to this, Sejun was getting three benefits at once, achieving great achievements, recruiting Sejun company employees and increasing his stats. Everyone come over and eat. Kyungi, let's start. Sejun called out while preparing food. Kyung. Kyungi distributed the food Sejun had made to the employees. Kilahut kaying. He butler, the great Blackie will help. The great Blackie knows how to make rice balls. Yap. Blackie also tried hard to make rice balls by stepping on rice, but of course it wouldn't work, and that's your lunch now, Blackie. Kaying. The great Blackie didn't make it to eat for himself. In the end, Blackie had to eat the rice he had stepped on. Several hours passed like that. Theanim, I'm back here. Charlie, who had gone home, returned with his fortune and handed it to Theo. Pew hut, Charlie, good job, meow. Now go over there and help Chairman Park, meow. No, it's not Charlie, it's Charlie. Heck. Yes. Charlie ended up helping distribute food with Sejun. Thanks to this, the food supply rate increased. Charlie, thanks for helping. Sejun expressed his gratitude to Charlie. Yes. Charlie decided to just give up on correcting his name. Then, after a day passed, and it became noon the next day, you have achieved the great achievement of commanding 2 million slaves. One great achievement was completed, and after another 2 days, late at night, you have achieved the great achievement of feeding 2 million people to fullness. The remaining great achievement was also achieved. As a result, Sejun's title, Slave King, and title, Saint of Feeding, were both doubled in effect as rewards for achieving these great accomplishments. Moreover, in the process of completing these accomplishments, all his stats had increased by about 10,000 due to the effects of his titles. Ah, sweet, so sweet. He had worked so hard that his exhaustion tasted almost sweet. Guys, let's take a break now. As Sejun flopped down. Pew hut. Kiwihit. Kivihit. One by one, his companions climbed onto Sejun's body, and even Charlie, after hesitating, curled up beside him and lay down. Even washing up and preparing a proper sleeping area felt like too much effort. Kiwi. Gororong. Kirorong. Kirorong. Swish. As everyone, exhausted from fatigue, fell into a deep sleep and began snoring. Whoosh. A cool breeze suddenly began to blow. And then, Sejun, wake up, the storm has appeared. Pose hurriedly woke Sejun. The long-awaited storm had finally arrived. Storm, then we need to catch it, let's go, Kyungi. After Sejun quickly rubbed his eyes to clear away his sleepiness. Then, clack, he grabbed Kyungi by both sides and lifted him up, charging toward the storm. Kyung. Still groggy, Kyungi yawned widely, then grabbed his thunderbolt staff and roared toward the storm. At that moment, hey, why is it running away? Kyung, it's coming this way. The storm began retreating, slowly inching away from Kyungi. Stop right there, meow. We need to catch you quickly and go back to sleep, meow. Pip, stop. Our Sejun needs to sleep. Theo and Peacebees, who had woken up a little earlier, joined in, surrounding the storm to prevent its escape. Theo used the effect of tidal, one who subdues the wind, while Peacebees simply created counterwinds to restrict the storm's movements. Kaying. Because of you, the great Blackie can't sleep. Butler, chase it quickly. The great Blackie will headbutt it. Blackie, furious at having his sleep disturbed, barked in anger. Surrounded by Sejun's enraged companions, the storm began to shrink in size under their siege. Windrin, the Storm King, tyrannical ruler who imprisoned free wind spirits. Like the poisonous Nekma in the Purple Tower, Windrin transformed into a small silver bead. It was trying to shrink its body and escape. However, inhale, stop, slurp. On this side there was Kyungi, who could swallow anything. Kyungi promptly gulped Windrin down. Kyung, you are all free now. Burp. With a burp, Kyungi released the wind spirits that had been trapped by Windrin. Advanced herbalist Park Kyungi has defeated Windran the Storm King, tyrannical ruler who imprisoned free wind spirits. You have gained 130 billion experience points, 50% of the experience points Advanced herbalist Park Kyungi acquired. At the same time, a message appeared before Sejun. You have acquired the demonic sword Stormbringer, which was dormant inside Windran, the Storm King. A message also appeared before Kyungi, indicating that he had obtained a demonic sword. Despite being called a demonic sword, Stormbringer was unexpectedly docile. "Oh, Kyungi, what's that?" Sejun asked as he looked at Kyungi holding the impressive sword. Kyung. Kyungi got it after eating Windran. "This is for Dad to use." "Ha ha ha, I'll make good use of it." Grinning excitedly, Sejun accepted the demonic sword Stormbringer from Kyungi. However, Wu Wang. The moment Sejun gripped it, unlike when Kyungi had held it, Stormbringer began radiating killing intent and fiercely resisted. "Oh ho, so you think I'm easy to deal with? Blackie, teach this thing a lesson." Sejun entrusted Blackie with disciplining the sword. "Kilahit Kaying. Hee butler, leave it to the great Blackie. The great Blackie will educate it." Thunk. Blackie headbutted the sword's handle. "But then..." Kaying. "Butler, I'm sorry, I didn't even scold it properly, and it disappeared." Blackie had been a little too enthusiastic, and as a result, Stormbringer's consciousness was completely erased, turning it into an ordinary sword. "Ah, right, my Blackie isn't just any regular wolf." Thanks to this, Sejun was once again reminded that Blackie was a dangerous one. Chapter 622 got delayed because he was busy stuffing his face. Silver Tower Administrator's Area. You have exceeded the requirement of weakening the Silver Tower's wind by more than 50%, which was one of the conditions for the growth of the Great Silver Tower. You have achieved all 8 growth conditions for Silver Tower. The Silver Tower is beginning its transformation into the Great Silver Tower. The Silver Tower began its transformation into the Great Silver Tower. And then, it's done. Our tower has finally become a great tower. Chrysella cheered as she looked at the notifications in the crystal orb. At that moment, "Mother, what's going on?" Stella, who had just woken up from a long sleep, came looking for Chrysella and asked. Stella had taken a month-long vacation and was spending her days lounging around. "Stella, our Silver Tower has finally become the Great Silver Tower." "Really? Mother, congratulations." Ho, it's all thanks to Sejun. Stella, if you ever meet Sejun, be nice to him, okay?" "Yes, but I wonder when I'll get to meet Sejun." "Well, Sejun is still quite weak." "Yes." The atmosphere suddenly grew somber. "Mother, on a day as great as today, we should have a party." Stella brightened the mood by suggesting they hold a party to celebrate the growth of the Great Silver Tower. Ho, you're right. Stella, go to the Dragon Market and buy some drinks and snacks." "Yes, I'll be back quickly." A smile returned to Chrysella's face. Thus, a celebration party for the growth of the Great Silver Tower was held at the Silver Dragon's domain, leading to increased sales at the Dragon Market, and Sejun earned more money once again. 82nd floor of the Great Silver Tower. "Guys, wake up." Sejun, who had woken up in the morning, woke up his companions. Today was the day they would return home. Now that the Great Silver Tower's transformation was complete, it was time to go back. Of course, before leaving, he planned to hire the residents who had arrived late on the 82nd floor after hearing about Sejun Company's recruitment. Since his stat potential was still abundant, there was no reason to be selective like before. After finishing breakfast, "Pew Hut, receive my stamp, meow." While Theo was stamping the residents of the Great Silver Tower who wanted to become employees of Sejun Company, the Great Silver Tower's administrator says this is the promised reward. Sejun received a success bonus 3 times the amount of the advance payment he had received from Chrysella. With that, Sejun received 3.6 trillion tower coins, 36 liters of great silver dragon's blood, 18,000 scales, and 3.6 kg of claws. Heh, quite the hefty reward. Sejun beamed as he stored the rewards from Chrysella in his void storage. But it's still not enough. Chrysalanum, since Charlie attacked us and got stamped, please let another legendary merchant get stamped instead. Sejun requested another legendary merchant from Chrysella. When did I ever attack you? I just protested that you called me by the wrong name. Charlie, who had been quietly listening, once again felt wronged. The Great Silver Tower's administrator says she sent the most well-behaved legendary merchant but never expected this to happen. The Great Silver Tower's administrator says she cannot forgive a legendary merchant who was rude to Sejun. The Great Silver Tower's administrator says if Sejun wishes, she will erase that legendary merchant. Charlie was now even facing the threat of annihilation. What annihilation? Not just death, but annihilation. No, absolutely not. Sejun was startled by Chrysella's words and quickly responded. Though the great dragons usually seemed like kind old men and women in the neighborhood, moments like these reminded him of how terrifyingly arrogant and formidable they truly were. I'm just glad I haven't earned their contempt. Sejun sighed in relief. However, he was unaware that he was actually the subject of their sympathy and one of the great dragon's greatest concerns. The Great Silver Tower's administrator says she will allow 2 other legendary merchants to get stamped instead. Oh, 2 of them. Thea will be thrilled. Heh, thank you, Chrysalanum. Sejun expressed his gratitude to Chrysella, and she ordered 2 legendary merchants from the Great Silver Tower to go to the 82nd floor and receive Theo's stamp. As a result, Sejun and his group's return to the Great Black Tower was delayed a bit longer. 99th floor of the Great Black Tower. This is the place where Sejun Company's Chairman Park, the richest man in the Great Black Tower, lives. What's this? Why does the building look so shabby? Are you stupid? That building is obviously just a decoy. There must be a ridiculously lavish facility underground. Heh, I'm hungry. Shut up, we need to loot the place and get out quickly. 5 sugar gliders were gliding through the air with their 4 limbs fully spread, flying over Sejun's farm to scout the area. TL, up arrow this guy. They were a group of 5 professional burglars who had recently been released from prison and had snuck onto the 99th floor of the tower to make some money. But why would they target the extremely dangerous 99th floor when there were plenty of other places to earn a living? If we succeed with this one job, we can live the rest of our lives without working. It was because they were die-hard one-shot opportunists. We just need to be careful of that guy swinging a sword, the poisonous bees, and the mushroom ants. All right, let's split up. Got it. Shashashak. The sugar gliders landed on the ground and swiftly, stealthily began inspecting Sejun's house, the cooking area, and the storage room. However, what the hell? There's no way down to an underground area. That can't be, so this is it. No way. They said Chairman Park has an insane amount of money. No matter how hard they searched, they couldn't find the treasure they were looking for. Which made sense. Sejun actually didn't have as much money saved up as one might think. Every time he managed to accumulate wealth, an incident would occur, or Theo would burn through it, using the money for his abilities. The thieves, flustered by the lack of anything valuable, began to panic. It's fine. Since Shurik, who went to check the storage, hasn't returned yet, there must be something valuable over there. Yeah, that makes sense. Then let's head to the storage too. Just as the thieves were about to move toward the storage. Guys, look at this. This stuff is really delicious. Shurik, who had been searching the storage, appeared with his arms full of corn kernels. His belly was also stuffed, having eaten a lot of corn before coming back. Got delayed because he was busy stuffing his face. Seeing Shurik's bloated stomach, the other thieves realized that their last hope, the storage, had also yielded nothing. At that moment, Shurik tripped over a small rock and fell flat on his face. And then, amplifying greatsword, he found a sword lying right in front of him. What the? There's an item just discarded on the ground. Plop. Shurik placed his hand on the greatsword to check its options. Huh, guys, this is S+ grade. He urgently called his teammates over. What, that thing? It looks like trash no matter how you look at it. Yeah, at best it's probably C grade. I'm serious, this is an S+ grade weapon. The other sugar gliders, doubting Shurik's ridiculous claim, checked the greatsword themselves. Huh, it really is S+ grade. They just left an S+ grade greatsword lying around. Then what about the other stuff? Realizing this, they quickly scattered and searched through Sejun's house again. What the hell, everything is S grade. The seemingly cheap-looking tools scattered around Sejun's house and farm all turned out to be S grade or higher items, leaving them in shock. Since the dragons had been crafting and giving Sejun whatever he needed, most of his everyday items ended up being S grade or better. There were items worth at least tens of millions of tower coins just lying around on the ground. Iamdal's sturdy dalsat. This is a mythical grade divine relic. They say real, rich people use money as firewood, but do all true, wealthy people live like this? Excited, the thieves hurriedly gathered up the valuable items scattered on the ground. And then, let's get out of here now. If we sell just this, we'll each get at least 10 billion tower coins. 10 billion? We can easily make 100 billion tower coins. Should we just buy an entire floor of the tower? How should we? Chattering excitedly about their soon-to-be extravagant future, the thieves left the farm and took to the skis once more. However, because they had gathered too much loot, they couldn't fly high. What awaited them was not an adventurous future, but the dark shadow of Pinkfur. Kyung. Pinkfur blocked their path with a roar. The poisonous bees had discovered the intruding glider gang and reported it to Aileen, who had immediately dispatched Pinkfur to capture the thieves. The tower's administrator says to ensure that Sejun never finds out about this. And just like that, the thieves disappeared from the 99th floor of the tower without a trace. Kwek. The mushroom ants restored all the stolen items to their original places, leaving no evidence that a theft had ever occurred. 95th floor of the Great Silver Tower. What, Buren, you have to receive a stamp from that guy Theo and become his subordinate. Yes, that's how it turned out. It's an order from the Great Silver Dragon. I can't accept this. Theo, that bastard, how dare he claim my wife? Hajin, Buren's husband and the leader of the Silver Lightning Mercenary Corps, exploded in rage and stormed off. And then, sigh, he can't be stopped. Buren sighed as she watched Hajin, but a faint smile lingered on her lips. She had married him because she liked his fiery personality, so she couldn't really blame him. Looks like we'll be joining the company as a couple. Buren wasn't particularly worried about Hajin running off to confront Theo. Theo, the infamous slave hunter whose name was well known across the 9 towers. He knocked out those who challenged him and made them his subordinates, but he never took their lives. I should hurry and get going too. Buren quickly packed her things and followed her husband to the 82nd floor of the Great Silver Tower. 82nd floor of the Great Silver Tower. Hut, receive my stamp, meow. Theo was stamping employees while sitting on Sejun's lap as Sejun rested with his legs crossed. Hut, Chairman Park, give me a churu treat, meow. Sure. Hut, Chairman Park, rub my belly, meow. All right. At the same time, he made demands of Sejun, who complied without hesitation. Since Theo was working hard, Sejun was more than willing to grant his requests. Kyung. Hehe, Dad, I brought you coffee. Kyungi came over with a cup of coffee, having prepared it just for Sejun. As expected, my son is the best, ah. After complimenting Kyungi, Sejun took a sip of the coffee. Kyungi then quietly clung to Sejun's side, concentrating deeply. He had sensed something yesterday while absorbing Windran's power. Kilahit Kaying. He, butler, bring me some roasted and dried sweet potato. Following Theo's example, Blackie also started making demands of Sejun. All right. Kilahit. Chomp chomp. 2. Kaying. Butler, this isn't roasted sweet potato, it's green onion. What Sejun had put in Blackie's mouth was a detoxifying green onion. Haha, consider it revenge for my sword. Kaying. That was because it was weak. Just as Sejun was teasing Blackie. Greetings, I am Cadden, a legendary merchant of the Great Silver Tower. A giant hawk descended from the sky and greeted Sejun and Theo. Yes, Cadden, nice to meet you. Hut, Cadden, welcome, meow. Stamp. After exchanging greetings, Sejun and Theo accepted Cadden as a full-time employee of Sejun Company. This isn't much, but please accept it as a token of my sincerity. Cadden handed Theo a hefty pouch of money and then departed. Now just one more and we can go home. Hut, got it, meow. As Sejun and Theo quietly chatted while recruiting more employees. Who is this Theo guy? Come out right now. From afar, a towering 3-meter-tall muscular tiger warrior, Hajin, appeared, shouting furiously. Behind him stood 10,000 subordinates. Silver Lightning, the largest mercenary corps in the Great Silver Tower, was an immensely influential force. Hut, I am the great hybrid Chairman Park's right-hand man, the deadly dragon Claude, the hybrid golden cat, the lucky legendary merchant Park Theo, meow. Of course, the moment they picked a fight with Theo, that influence effectively became Sejun Company. A short while later. Stamp, stamp, stamp. The number of full-time employees from the Great Silver Tower in Sejun Company has exceeded 10,000. Sejun Company's influence in the Great Silver Tower has significantly increased. The full-time employee communication network has expanded. From now on, direct communication between full-time employees in the Great Black Tower and the Great Silver Tower is possible. The Great Silver Tower's employee communication network merged with that of the Great Black Tower. Hello, I'm Buren, a legendary merchant of the Great Silver Tower. My husband is kind-hearted but a bit hot-tempered. Thank you for sparing him. Please accept this as a token of my gratitude. Arriving late, Buren approached Theo to introduce herself and checked on her husband. The unconscious Hajin had a deeply satisfied expression on his face. Losing to a strong opponent was not a disgrace but an honor. Hut, that's right, meow. Hajin seems like a good guy, meow. Hajin gave a lot of money, meow. What? My husband had money. Hut, he had 10 billion tower coins, meow. Ho ho ho, is that so? Buren smiled, but only with her lips. Her eyes, however, were glaring fiercely at the unconscious Hajin. There was no way Hajin, who lived off an allowance, could have such a large sum. He had definitely taken on requests in secret and saved up money behind her back. Buren approached Hajin with a cold expression. Was it a secret stash? From Buren's reaction, Sejun realized that the money Hajin had was indeed a hidden stash. If your wife is a legendary merchant, why not just ask her for money instead of secretly saving up? Why would he even make a secret stash? Sejun thought about the reason Hajin would go to such lengths. In cases like this, it's always the same. Obviously, it was to buy a limited edition collection that his wife wouldn't approve of. I have to help him. Oh, now that I think about it, maybe it was Hajin's money, right, Vice Chairman Theo? Meow, that's right, meow. It doesn't seem like Hajin's money, meow. Feeling a strange sense of camaraderie with Hajin, Sejun signaled to Theo and quickly stepped in to help him. However, HMPH, secretly saving 10 billion tower coins behind my back. Buren had already made up her mind and stood before Hajin. Russell. She slipped 10 billion tower coins into Hajin's arms. It was obvious why he had been trying to save up. Our wedding anniversary is coming up soon. Keep it a secret from my husband. Buren gave a faint smile before returning to her usual expressionless face, and, huh? Sejun, who had slightly expected something else, suddenly felt an odd sense of betrayal. Chapter 623. Then, the great Blackie will rip it off himself. You have arrived at the 99th floor of the Black Tower. Aileen, I'm back. Appearing on the waypoint, Sejun announced his return to Aileen. The tower's administrator says to come quickly. Yeah, nothing much happened, right? The tower's administrator says something big did happen. Huh, what happened? The tower's administrator says the great silver dragons bought a lot of alcohol and snacks from Dragon Market, greatly increasing sales. Oh, really? I thought it was something serious. Aileen, good job. Hearing that something had happened, he thought maybe there had been a thief. Aileen covered up the truth with another fact. Without lying to Sejun, she naturally hid the fact that thieves had infiltrated the 99th floor of the tower. While Sejun and Aileen were talking, Pew Hu Hut, Chairman Park, I missed you, meow. Kyung, Kaying, Theo, Kyungi, and the Blackie family emerged from the void storage and leaped towards Sejun. Sejun took his companions and Kyurarung went a Pink Fur who was sleeping soundly. And then, Kyungi, sleep well. Kyung, Dad, good night. Pudge. He exchanged good night greetings with Kyungi. After greeting Sejun, Kyungi, Ku Eng, carefully pushed aside Pink Fur's leg without waking her, creating a cozy sleeping space before snuggling inside. Then, Kyung, Kyu-he. Half asleep, Pink Fur saw Kyungi nestled in her embrace and rubbed her cheek against him affectionately. A peaceful sight. Sejun watched the two for a moment before heading home. And then, Sejun number 3 used this. On his way, he stopped by Sejun number 3 and handed him a sword that had once been a demonic sword, Stormbringer, but had become an ordinary blade after losing its consciousness. Even though it was now an ordinary sword, it was still better than the one Sejun number 3 was currently using. Bo. Sejun number 3 lowered his head in gratitude and accepted the sword. Bon. Apparently satisfied with it, he stared at the sword for quite a while before starting to swing it again. Time to lie down. Arriving home, Sejun embraced his companions and collapsed onto the soft bed. A short while later, Koryoryung, Gorarung, Keikirarung. Sejun and his companions soon fell asleep, snoring. Meanwhile, in Blackie's mental realm, eat this roasted and dried sweet potato, and forgive my little guys, okay? Pew Hu Hut, eat this grilled fish and forgive my little siblings, meow. I'm really sorry. Sorry. The second round of battle in Blackie's mental realm had begun. Forest of Creation. Hee, now I can create an avatar with 0.5% power. Flamey was diligently practicing, making avatars again today. The trial statue quietly observed, refraining from interfering, though its gaze looked slightly fatigued. Hee, Flamey number 100, go to the Brown Tower. Hee, yes, Flamey number 100 heading to the Brown Tower. The 100th avatar of Flamey set out to search for a World Tree candidate in the Brown Tower. Hearing that Sejun had received a request from the Great Dragons to create great towers, Flamey had been sending avatars to the Silver Tower, the Golden Tower, and the Brown Tower to search for World Tree candidates. The grand plan was to nurture a World Tree just in time to aid Sejun when his requests was nearing completion. However, the plan had failed in the Silver Tower because Sejunim was just too competent. Flamey had a dejected expression for not being able to help create the Great Silver Tower. At that moment, I found a World Tree candidate on the 67th floor of the Golden Tower. The 70th avatar of Flamey returned. Good job, Flamey number 70. Then I'll be off. Flamey number 70, thank you, great work. Goodbye. SRRRK. With a bright expression, Flamey number 70 waved its leaves before vanishing. Avatars had a limited lifespan. Only the body disappeared, since Flamey number 70's consciousness had merely separated from Flamey's main consciousness. There was no sense of loss. Thus, Flamey continued using her avatars to find trees that could become world trees. There are no more tiers of destruction nearby to lure. At the same time, the main body was working day and night to lure tiers of destruction using Earthworm. She was employing a two-track strategy, weakening her own power while strengthening Sejun's. I need to move to another location. Thump thump. Flamey gently tapped Jormungandr's body with her roots, directing it toward an area with a higher concentration of tiers of destruction. The next morning, Great Golden Tower's growth conditions, 1-8. Tower Farmer achieved. Create at least 3 new crop varieties, not achieved 0-1. Weaken the tower's thunderstorm by at least 50%, not achieved 40%. Grow 1 world tree, not achieved 0-1. Secure at least 100 pieces of world's energy, not achieved. Own 11 divine relics, not achieved 0-11. Achieve 7 great achievements, achieved 3-7. Expand the Golden Tower's entrances to 120, not achieved 95-120. Sejun walked through the farm while reviewing the Golden Tower's growth requirements. Owning 11 divine relics would contribute 2. Weakening the thunderstorm by 50% would contribute 2. Securing 100 pieces of world's energy would contribute 2. Next, this is tricky. He couldn't quite visualize how to complete the final requirement. It seemed extremely difficult to promote Cecilia from an A-rank to an S-rank tower farmer. Achieving 2 more great achievements was possible using the method he had employed in the Silver Tower, but the remaining 2 were uncertain. Moreover, there was no guarantee that growing a world tree would be as lucky as last time. At least, unlike other towers that required 10,000 pieces of world's energy, the Golden Tower only needed 100, which was a relief. Otherwise, it would have been even more difficult. For now, I should catch up on overdue tasks today. Just as Sejun was finalizing his thoughts. Thud thud. Pink Fur came walking carefully with sleeping Kyungi in her mouth. As usual, she was entrusting Kyungi to Sejun before heading off to train under the Minotaur King. Kyung. The moment Kyungi was handed over to Sejun, he instinctively clung to Sejun's side. Thud thud. After entrusting Kyungi to Sejun, Pink Fur moved north without hesitation. It wasn't that she had no attachment to Kyungi, it was just that there was no need to hesitate. They were family. With Kyungi now in his care, Sejun said, "Shall we go eat?" He led his companions into the kitchen and began cooking. Miwoa. Kyuyang. Kaying. Drawn by the aroma of Sejun's cooking, his companions woke up, stretching and yawning. And then, Puhu Hut, Chairman Park, are you grilling my fish properly, meow? Of course. Kyueha Kyuang. Hehen, Dad, what's for breakfast today? Hee, today it's fried eggs and sausage stir-fry with white rice, your favorite Kyungi. Kilahit Kaying. Hee, butler, you dried my roasted and dried sweet potato properly, right? What should I do? I forgot today. K Kyuang Kaying. Whyat, how could you forget? Butler, you're the worst. Oh, Blackie, did you just call me the worst? Heh. Then I guess I'll eat yesterday's batch of dried sweet potatoes myself. Kaying. No, Butler, you're the best. His companions checked the breakfast menu. Once the cooking was finished, they all enjoyed their meal. Puhu Hut, Chairman Park, I'll go earn lots of money, meow. Kyuang. I'll work hard too, Dad. Theo and Kyungi headed out. Theo to the 27th floor of the Red Tower and Kyungi to the Western Herb Field. Having spent the past few days in the Silver Tower, both had a backlog of work. After sending Theo and Kyungi off to work, Sejun also began his farm tasks. Kilahit Kaying. Hee, Butler, I'll help. Having gained strength from a few drops of the Great Growth Elixir, The Blackie family was now capable of doing a fair share of the work. Once the farm tasks on the 99th floor were completed. Summon door, Blackie, let's go. Sejun took the Blackie family to the 10th tower. Kilahit Kaying. He, the great boss Blackie has arrived. Kaya. Kiki. The Blackie family was enthusiastically welcomed by the Destruction Pioneers and Destruction Devourers. Kaying. This time in the Silver Tower, the great Blackie. Blackie began boasting about his exploits, how he had obliterated the demonic sword in the Silver Tower. Thump thump. Meanwhile, Sejun was planting seeds. At that moment, Kagagang, the energy of creation generated in the 10th tower, has reached 36 million liters. The 7th floor of the 10th tower is now open. The 7th floor of the 10th tower has been activated. The 7th floor of the tower had been unlocked. And that meant the 6th floor could now be cleared. Sejun hurried to the 6th floor of the tower and tab. He placed his hand on the white crystal. You have cleared the 6th floor of the 10th tower. As a reward for clearing the 6th floor, all stats have increased by 500. As a reward for clearing the 5th floor, you have obtained 50 billion tower coins and 1 trillion experience points. You have leveled up. You are now moving to the 7th floor of the tower. As the reward message for clearing the 6th floor appeared before him, Sejun was transported to the 7th floor. Unlike the other floors, the 7th floor had no vast land. Surrounding him were steep cliffs, and a single beam of light from the sky illuminated a small temple in the center with an open ceiling, casting a glow over the area. Is this not a place for farming? Step. Cautiously, Sejun entered the temple. Inside, 9 pillars of different colors surrounded the temple's center. At the very center of the temple was a crystal-clear pond, so transparent that its depths could be seen, except that beyond a certain depth, it was pitch black, revealing nothing. That must be dangerous. Frightened by the dark abyss, Sejun averted his gaze from the pond and looked around. Then he noticed a golden and a brown pillar that were thinner and shorter than the others. It resembled the situation of the 9 towers. Upon closer inspection, the arrangement of the 9 pillars matched the layout of the 9 towers. Why are the 9 towers represented here? As Sejun pondered, a quest has been generated. Quest: turn all 9 towers into great towers. Reward: Creator God's tablet. A quest message appeared before Sejun. Despite the quest's high difficulty and incredible reward, the message was absurdly brief. Easy. Finally, he could collect all of the Creator God's tablets. Of course, for Sejun, this wasn't a difficult quest, nor was the reward particularly impressive. After all, he had already turned 7 of the towers into great towers and possessed 9 Creator God's tablets. I'll be back soon. Acting cool, Sejun descended to the 1st floor alone. Kaying. Butler, where did you go alone? If you're going somewhere, you have to take the great Blackie too. I was worried. He had to endure a scolding from Blackie for disappearing without saying a word. All right, I'll take you with me next time, sorry. Sejun soothed Blackie by patting his head, appreciating his concern. A warm, soft atmosphere settled between them for a brief moment. But that moment didn't last long. Kilahit Kaying. If you're really sorry, give me 5 pieces of roasted and dried sweet potato. Suddenly, I'm not sorry anymore. Kaying. You just said you were sorry. The great Blackie heard it loud and clear. Hand over the roasted sweet potatoes now. When did I say that? The two quickly started bickering again. Kaying. If a man says 2 different things with one tongue, his tongue falls off. Not me. Sejun teased Blackie with a smug grin. Teasing Blackie was still the most fun. In his excitement, he momentarily forgot. Kaying. Then the great Blackie will rip it off himself. That Blackie was a terrifying creature. Blackie, the wolf who hunts gods, could certainly hunt other things too. Snap. Hey, were you really about to bite me? All right, I'll give it to you. I said I'll give it to you. Panicked, Sejun quickly surrendered and handed over the roasted and dried sweet potatoes to Blackie. Kill hit. Chomp chomp chomp. Wearing a victorious smile, Blackie happily munched on his reward. Hee, this is delicious. The roasted and dried sweet potatoes, won through battle with Sejun, tasted even better with the added seasoning of victory. Chapter 624. Hey, where are you going? How am I supposed to get home? Black Tower, 99th floor. Clang. As the exit of the 10th tower opened. Da da da. Kilahit Kang. Hee, the great victor Blackie has arrived. Blackie ran out proudly. I can't believe I lost to that sunfish, Blackie. Sejun trudged out behind him. It seemed that losing to Blackie, whom he had thought was beneath him, had hurt his pride quite a bit. Heh, but so what? I still control your food supply. Of course, he quickly got over it. With that, Sejun regained his composure. HMPH, Aileen, what do you want to eat? The tower's administrator says she want to eat pancakes today. Pancakes, got it. Sejun chatted with Aileen in the cooking area while making pancakes. Kirorong. Iamrarong. Kurorong. Having just feasted on roasted and dried sweet potatoes, the Blackie family dozed off and eventually fell asleep inside the sling bag. A little while later. Aileen, here, enjoy your meal. The tower's administrator says she'll eat well. After sending Aileen a stack of 30 pancakes. Ajax, have some pancakes. He also sent a stack of 20 pancakes to Ajax, who loved them. And just as he was about to sit at the table and eat his own pancakes, suddenly his vision darkened and it became hard to breathe. Pew hut, Chairman Park, I'm back, meow. It was because Theo had latched onto his face. You finished early. As Sejun pried Theo off his face and asked. Pew hut, Brings was doing well, so I came back quickly, meow. Did you have lunch? Pew hut, I didn't eat so I could have lunch with Chairman Park, meow. Theo stared at Sejun intently as he answered. What are you waiting for, meow? Hurry up and grill some fish, meow. That was the kind of look he was giving. You have the grilled fish lunchbox I packed for you, just eat that. No way, meow, I'm saving that for later, meow. You've got a lot of things stored away for later already. That's for emergency situations, meow. What kind of emergency? Just eat it. No, meow, grill me some fish, meow. Fine. As Sejun and Theo bickered over lunch. Kueha Kuang. Hey, Mom, it's lunchtime. Kuangi and Pinkfur also took their lunch break in the herb field. Kueha Kuang. Hey, Mom, here. Kuang. Kuangi placed a rice ball into Pinkfur's open mouth. Kueha Kuang. Hey, now it's Kuangi's turn. This time Kuangi opened his mouth, and Pinkfur fed him a rice ball. It was a rather peaceful lunchtime on the 99th floor of the tower. Earthworm. Oh, there's a lot today. Squirm, squirm. After finishing lunch, Sejun entered Earthworm through the dimensional gate and was pleased to see the tears of destruction morphing into his own appearance. Thanks to Flamey skillfully dribbling Jormungandr's body, she had positioned herself in a good spot and lured in many tears of destruction. Hey guys, hello. As Sejun greeted the 20 newly created destruction Sejuns. Pew hut, Chairman Park, I missed you, meow. Theo, who had crossed the dimensional gate carrying the sling bag with the Blackie family inside, clung to Sejun's knee. Pew hut, Chairman Park here, meow. Yeah. Sejun took the sling bag Theo handed him and slung it over his shoulder again. Then, after collecting 10 drops of tears of the incomplete creator god that had formed as the previous destruction Sejuns vanished. Here, he immediately sent the collected tears to Amila. You have completed the quest 10 times. As a reward for completing the quest, you have obtained 50 drops of the Great Growth Elixir. A glass bottle appeared in Sejun's hand. Today, he decided to divide it up evenly, 2 drops each for the others and 20 drops for himself. After distributing the elixir, Sejun set aside 2 drops for Kyungi and had everyone drink theirs, including himself. Of course, there was some resistance along the way, but he dealt with it through persuasion and force. Haha, where do you think you're going, sunfish? Kaying. But I won earlier. Especially after subduing Blackie by force, Sejun's self-esteem had been greatly restored. As Sejun drank the elixir and diligently planted seeds with the destruction Sejun's. Sejunim, I have something to tell you. Toryang came to find Sejun. Why, what's going on? Well, according to Toryang, Sejun had planted so many destruction devourers that they now occupied a quarter of the land in Earthworm. As a result, the movements of the other Earth dragons were becoming restricted. I see. Though he hadn't counted them exactly, the current number of destruction devourers in Earthworm had surpassed 10 billion. In the beginning, the mushroom ants had planted them in massive numbers, and afterward, Sejun and the destruction Sejuns had continued to plant them diligently. Considering the speed at which destruction devourers produced seeds, their growth rate would only accelerate further. There really are a lot of them. All right, I'll find a way. Yes, thank you. Oh, and recently, there have been unknown external shocks occurring outside, so please be careful. Shocks, got it. Thanks for letting me know. After finishing his conversation with Toryang, Sejun pondered. What should I do? He contemplated how to handle the destruction devourers. Then, I can just send them up. He quickly came up with a good idea. Originally, the best method was to plant destruction devourers in the bodies of the apostles of destruction. With his Eurofield skill, he could drain their life force while simultaneously eliminating the energy of destruction. However, when he first arrived here, the external situation wasn't favorable, so he had been planting them here instead. That was no longer necessary. But for this, I need Kyungi. He didn't have a way to send the destruction devourers into the sky. Wait, no. Hey, I have this. Thud. Sejun proudly pulled out a massive box and opened it. Inside, it was filled with beans. Sky-reaching beans. Eating them would make a person grow 3 cm taller, so Sejun had stockpiled a huge amount, intending to sell them for a living when he returned to Earth. Although Sejun had more than enough money to never worry about living expenses, he still always worried about survival. You never know when everything might suddenly go downhill. And so, he decided to plant the sky-reaching beans to send the destruction devourers outside of Earthworm. Vice Chairman Theo, tell Hell to get 10 drops of the harvest elixir from Leenham. Hut got it, meow. He asked Theo to obtain the harvest elixir. The plan was to use it to rapidly grow the bean stalks. Hut got it, meow. Helnum go to Leenham and... Theo relayed Sejun's request to Hell exactly as he had heard it. A designated quest has been issued by the vice chairman of Sejun Company, Park Theo. The designated recipient is Hell, the god of merchants. Manager Hell's pawnshop, god of merchants Hell, accepted. Thus, the request was formally turned into a quest for Hell. Lee, I'll buy 10 drops of the harvest elixir. Hell quickly went to Lee, purchased the harvest elixir, and sent it to Theo, and Hell, the god of merchants, has received 5 welfare points as a quest completion reward. Received the reward. Hehe, this is really nice. Hell grinned, pleased with her reward. Although she had bought 10 drops of the harvest elixir from Lee for 2,000 divine power. Since I can buy 1,000 divine power with 1 welfare point. So she had effectively gained 3,000 divine power in profit. Manager, Seed Shop Headquarters, God of Battle Battler. Vice Chairman Theo, give me a quest too. I can do it well. Manager, Seed Shop Headquarters, God of Sprouts Bud, I'm jealous. Seeing this, the employee gods were envious. Hut, Chairman Park, here are the 10 drops of the harvest elixir, meow. In the meantime, Theo handed the harvest elixir to Sejun. Thanks. as soon as Sejun received the elixir. Plop, plop. He planted the sky-reaching beans. Drip, drip. Then he dripped the harvest elixir onto the spots where he had planted them. And then, Siararak. The beans rapidly grew, shooting up toward the sky. Guys, climb up. Sejun had the Destruction Sejuns and Destruction Devourers latch onto the skyward growing bean stalks, as the stalks continued to grow and neared the sky. Iasipo, fire the seed cannon. Yes. 2. Sejun had World Tree. Iasipo shoot a hole in the sky using the seed cannon. Thus, the bean stalks successfully pierced through Earthworm's walls and continued to rise, creating a path that connected Earthworm to Jormungandr's stomach. Then, Kiki, the remaining Destruction Devourers, also started climbing up the bean stalks toward the sky. Meanwhile, Huff Huff, the Destruction Devourers that reached the sky first diligently absorbed and processed the dense energy of destruction. Burp. They then released the energy of creation. All right, watch carefully. This is how you do it. Plop, plop, your field. Master has been activated. You have planted the destruction pioneer seeds in the body of Jormungandr, the world-devouring serpent and third seat of the Apostle of Destruction. Sejun demonstrated for the Destruction Sejuns. However, plop, plop, the Destruction Devourer seeds planted by the Destruction Sejuns in Jormungandr's stomach failed to grow. The gap between the dimensional energies was too narrow, meaning Flamey had only been able to lure in the smallest destruction tiers. And while the Destruction Sejuns had barely learned magic seed sowing and harvesting, they didn't know how to use your field. What, you can't do this? An unexpected obstacle. Well, there's no helping it. Then you guys just focus on harvesting. Sejun began planting other crops in Jormungandr's body for the Destruction Sejuns to harvest. Normally, he didn't mind if others rested while he worked, but he couldn't stand the sight of Destruction Sejuns, who looked just like him, idling around. As Sejun diligently planted crops, the bored Destruction Sejuns clumsily tried to attack him. Killahit Kaying. He, the great Blackie will protect Butler. Everyone attack. Blackie family swiftly subdued the Destruction Sejuns. Thanks to the Great Growth Elixir, all of Blackie family had stats exceeding 1,000. On top of that, they had exceptional combat instincts, specialized combat powers, talents, and skills. In contrast, the Destruction Sejuns, who were merely copies of Sejun with terrible combat sense and farming specialized skills, had far higher total stats but were no match for Blackie family. I fed them well. Sejun watched them fondly. However, Killahit Kaying. Guys, let's punish them even more. Thwag thwag. Hey, stop hitting them. Seeing the destruction, Sejun's continuously getting beaten up started to put him in a bad mood. Time passed chaotically like that in. Kyung. Dad, why haven't you gone home yet? Kyungi came looking for Sejun, wondering why he hadn't finished for the day. Is it that late already? Kyung. Yes, Kyungi's belly clock rang 5 times already. Really? Then you must be really hungry. Let's go quickly. Just as Sejun hurried to wrap things up. A blue energy started visibly manifesting around them. What is this? It was a phenomenon that occurred when the energy of creation accumulated and thickened. Unfortunately, this was happening in a completely enclosed space with no external connection. The area was becoming saturated with the energy of creation emitted by the Destruction Devourers. Is this okay? Sejun, feeling complacent, thought, last time, Earthworm evolved, which was dangerous, but this shouldn't be that bad, right? But then, rumble, boom, Earthworm suddenly moved and was expelled out through Jormungandr's mouth. The expanding energy of creation had forcibly pushed Earthworm outside. Hey, where are you going? How am I supposed to get home? Sejun stood there, stunned, watching Earthworm disappear into the distance. No, wait, As long as we have peacebees, we can make another dimensional gate. Vice Chairman Theo, where's our peacebees? Is he on my back? He quickly regained his composure and started looking for peacebees. However, meow, peacebees went to the bathroom a little while ago, meow. What? Where? Over there, meow. Theo pointed with his front paw to the spot where Earthworm had disappeared. Peacebees was drifting away along with Earthworm. No, peacebees, come back. Sejun, growing anxious, desperately called out to peacebees. At that moment, Pew Hut, Chairman Park, don't worry, meow. We can return using Kaisernam's bracelet, meow. Oh, that's right. He had the dragon horn's return bracelet. Feeling a bit embarrassed, Sejun put on a nonchalant expression and resumed planting crops as if nothing had happened. Just another peaceful day for the Sejun family. Chapter 625, Huck, Blackie, follow me, meow. Inside Jormungandr's stomach. Kiki. Guys, don't worry. I'll stay with you until the rescue team arrives. Sejun reassured the Destruction Devourers, who were anxiously watching him. Sejun and his group could leave whenever they wanted, but the Destruction Devourers had to remain here, making them uneasy about whether Sejun and his group would return. It should take about 3 days, right? So they decided to wait together until peacebees could create another dimensional gate here. Earlier, amidst all the commotion, Sejun hadn't thought about it, but with peacebees' skills, it wouldn't take long to open a portal connecting this place to the Black Tower. Kihihit. Kaying. Hee, guys, don't worry. The great boss Blackie will never abandon you. Blackie also stepped in to soothe the Destruction Devourers. Then, Kiki, Kaying. You want to hear about the great boss Blackie's heroic tales? The Destruction Devourers eagerly begged Blackie to tell them his stories. Killahit, Kaying. Hee, all right. Then let me tell you the fresh and glorious tale of how the great boss Blackie triumphed over Butler today. Proudly, Blackie began boasting about how he had defeated Sejun on the 10th floor of the tower earlier that day. While the Destruction Devourers were engrossed in Blackie's story. Since we're camping out tonight, Sejun pondered the evening menu, considering the environment. Let's start with some meat. To create a proper camping atmosphere, he lit 3 fires, one for cooking rice, another for grilling fish for Theo, and a third to heat a frying pan. As he flipped the fish, ensuring it cooked evenly, the frying pan reached the right temperature. Sizzle. He placed some slime meat on the pan to grill. It would be a little lacking if he only grilled meat. Sizzle. So he added sausages, sweet potatoes, onions, and other vegetables to grill alongside. Sejun moved back and forth, flipping the fish and meat to prevent them from burning. Eventually, the meal was ready. Guys, let's eat. Sejun called his companions. Hut. Kivihit. A delightful and delicious dinner. After the meal, crop gigantification. Sejun enlarged king oyster mushrooms to use as mattresses and took out blankets, preparing for sleep. A little distance away, Theo, Kyungi, and the Blackie family watched over Sejun. Then, Killahit Kaying. Hee, brothers, I beat Butler earlier. Excited, Blackie once again boasted to Theo and Kyungi about defeating Sejun, just as he had with the Destruction Devourers. Today's victory was just too thrilling for him to keep to himself. Meow, how did Blackie defeat our great hybrid Chairman Park, meow? Kyung. Curious, Theo and Kyungi asked. Then, Killahit Kaying. Hee, if you want to know how the great Blackie won. Proudly confessing his own crime, Blackie began explaining. Hashtag Blackie, follow me, meow. Kyung. Kaying. In the end, Blackie was dragged away by his brothers and given a long overdue lesson. A little later. Let's sleep now. Sejun lay down with his companions, and a second round of battle began inside Blackie's mental world. This honey is delicious. After eating this, I forgive little brother. Tonight, Kyungi also joined in. Since the pink fur incident, Kyungi had almost completely separated himself from the beast of apocalypse, allowing him to create an independent mental form. And so, another familiar day came to a close in this unfamiliar place. The next morning. All right. As Sejun got up. Pip pip, Sejunum, you're awake. Peacebees excitedly greeted him. Huh, Peacebees, how did you? Just as Sejun was about to ask Peacebees. Behum. Looking smug, Peacebees lifted a wing and pointed to the side. And there it was. A dimensional gate. A newly created dimensional gate stood before them, made by Peacebees. Sejun had assumed it would take at least 3 days for Peacebees to connect this place with the Black Tower, but he had overlooked one crucial factor. The moment Sejun was in trouble, his family members displayed several times their usual abilities. Peacebees, well done. As Sejun placed Peacebees on his hand and stroked its head. Bahe, I did it for you, Sejunum. Peacebees enjoyed Sejun's touch and then. Berorong. It fell into a deep sleep. Sejun placed the sleeping Peacebees on his shoulder. Swoosh. Peacebees camouflaged itself and disappeared from view. Aileen, I'm back. Sejun stepped through the dimensional gate and returned to the Black Tower. The tower's administrator asks in a worried voice if you are okay. Yeah, but what happened? Sejun asked Aileen, since the great dragons outside would have a better grasp of the situation. The tower's administrator. Aileen's explanation was as follows. Suddenly, Earthworm had burst out of Jormungandr's mouth, releasing an enormous amount of blue energy, which the great dragons witnessed. The dragons excitedly hunted down the tears of destruction that had been touched by the energy of creation. And with the tower coins they earned from the hunt, the dragons spent lavishly at the dragon market, causing its sales to skyrocket. So Aileen had been waiting, planning to boast about it to Sejun. However, before she could do so, she had learned from Peacebees, who had returned alone, that Sejun and his companions were stranded inside Jormungandr's body. After that, Aileen had anxiously watched over Peacebees all night, as it worked on creating the dimensional gate. Apart from the previous events, Aileen had mainly been worried about Sejun, and that fact made him even happier. The idea that someone was sincerely worrying and waiting for him. He had vaguely thought it might feel overwhelming, but the more he listened to Aileen's words, the more oddly comforted and happy he felt. Of course, he felt guilty for making Aileen worry. But rather than feeling indebted, he simply wanted to repay her kindness. More than anything, knowing that Aileen had been concerned about him made him incredibly happy, so much so that he even entertained the mischievous thought of making her worry from time to time. Of course, if Kaiser, the doting grandfather, ever found out about Sejun's foolish idea, Sejun would be sent straight to hell. No matter how much Kaiser cherished Sejun, Aileen was always his top priority. Aileen, I'm sorry for making you worry. Tower's administrator tells you not to apologize. The tower's administrator says that instead, she is grateful that you returned safely. Heh, thanks for worrying about me. As Sejun and Aileen exchanged heartfelt words. Qang. Thud, thud. A slightly exhausted Pinkfur came running. Pinkfur had also stayed up all night, unable to sleep, worrying about Kyungi. Kyung. Mom. Kyungi jumped off Sejun's side and ran toward Pinkfur. Kyung. Kyuiha. Mother and child rubbed their faces against each other, relishing their reunion. I miss my mom too. As Sejun watched Kyungi and Pinkfur reunite, his own mother came to mind. Brother-in-law, I was so worried. Ace, who had fallen asleep while worrying about Sejun, had just heard the news of his return and hurriedly flew over. Yeah, thanks for worrying about me too, baby brother-in-law. Sejun comforted Ace, who clung to him. Aileen, what happened to the earthworm? While waiting for Ace to calm down in his embrace, Sejun asked Aileen about Earthworm's situation. He was worried about the Earth dragons left in Earthworm, especially Toriong. The tower's administrator tells you not to worry. The tower's administrator says that the other adults safely returned Earthworm to its original place. Really, that's a relief. Feeling reassured by Aileen's words, Sejun began his day on the 99th floor of the tower. Guys, let's eat. Of course, the first task of the day was preparing breakfast. After finishing breakfast, is it time for the Golden Tower now? Artemisnim here. Sejun handed Artemis 12 divine relics and 101 pieces of the world's energy, achieving 2 additional achievements and fulfilling 4 growth conditions for the Golden Tower in one go. Thanks to this, the full-time employee gods also completed their quests with excess divine relics and earned welfare points. All right, I'll be back. After bidding farewell to the 99th floor residents of the tower, step, Sejun stepped towards the waypoint, which had now been moved right next to his home, and traveled to the Golden Tower to complete the remaining growth conditions. A short while later, you have arrived at the 86th floor of the Golden Tower. Arrived. Passing through the 99th floor of the Golden Tower, Sejun arrived at the 86th floor, where Demon Family was located. I'll relax and work here for a few days. While gathering information, Sejun planned to enjoy a comfortable stay in Demon Family. At the Silver Tower, he had unknowingly worked too hard, and even yesterday, he had ended up overworking again. Park Sejun, 100 hours a week is too much. That's right, I deserve to rest, hehe. With that thought in mind, Sejun arrived at Demon Family, ready to take it easy. However, his plans fell apart before they could even begin. Pio. Sejunim Theanim hello. Yuihe hello. Mohe hello. He encountered Piat Urin and Poyo in Demon Family. This feels ominous. As a bad feeling crept over Sejun. Meow, Chairman Park, I sense an attraction, meow. Theo pointed his paw at Urin. Crash. A massive lightning bolt struck toward Urin. And then, I am Ratan, the fleeting spark that illuminates the world, a great force of destruction, an unfortunate coincidence. Since misfortune has led me here, so today you all shall perish. A bolt of lightning had possessed Urin's body. Sadly, Sejun's bad premonition was right on target. It was clearly someone who would weaken the lightning energy of the Golden Tower. With Theo and Urin's synergy, things were spiraling out of control. I never get to rest. Grumbling, Sejun slowly approached Urin, holding Kyungi in front of him. Kyungi hit him with the Thunderbolt staff first. Kyung. Got it. Kyungi pulled out the Thunderbolt staff. Thud. You brat goo. Thump, thump, thump. How dare you strike me? And began beating Urin. More precisely, he was hitting Ratan, the entity possessing Urin's body. A little while later, Quiwick, as Urin's occasional screams of consciousness began to echo. Zap. Unable to withstand Kyungi's exorcism, Ratan emerged from Urin's body in the form of a yellow orb. Slurp. And just like last time, Kyungi devoured it. Kyungi, are you okay? Kyueha Kyung. Hehe, it tastes like a slightly tangy lemon. I see. I wasn't asking about the taste, but so it was lemon-flavored. And with that single-line flavor review, Ratan was completely erased. Advanced herbalist Park Kyungi has defeated Ratan, the fleeting spark that illuminates the world, a great force of destruction and an unfortunate coincidence. You have gained 150 billion experience points. 50% of the experience points Advanced Herbalist Park Kyungi acquired. Sejun received his share of the experience points. Mohag delicious. Lick, lick, lick. Meanwhile, Poyo, the sand fairy that devours misfortune, licked away the well-aged misfortune from Urin. But there's still one condition left before the Golden Tower can evolve. Sejun had not yet given up on his plan to rest in Demon Family. At that moment, Sejunum did it. Now's the time. Eat this and become the world tree. Yes. Flamey No 101. which possessed 0.499% of Flamey's power, provided nutrients to the lemon tree world tree candidate on the 67th floor of the Golden Tower, allowing it to become a world tree. Unaware of this, Sejunum, it's time for lunch now. Heh, all right. As he was getting up to eat lunch after lounging in the room provided by Yudo, the head of the demon family, the administrator of the Golden Tower, says you've done well. Huh? For what? Wait, why the Golden Tower? Sejun belatedly realized that the Golden Tower had evolved into a great tower. The administrator of the Golden Tower says this is the promised reward. Thank you. Of course, he wasn't unhappy about receiving a reward. But what just happened? It just felt a bit unsettling. Now I have to go to the Brown Tower right away. He was a bit disappointed that his rest time had disappeared. Just openly resting didn't suit Sejun's personality. Thus, after having lunch, he returned to the Black Tower in just 3 hours. Sejun is truly a powerhouse, a great tower in 3 hours. What 3 hours? Once again, the great dragons acknowledged his abilities. And then, Kalkekal, Sejunum will be here soon. Hurry and prepare the food. Auric, the tower farmer of the Brown Tower, was preparing a traditional dish of the Red Goblin tribe while eagerly awaiting Sejun. Something feels off. Once again, it seemed like his bad premonition would prove accurate. Chapter 626, Kyungi, aren't you eating? 99th floor of the Black Tower. Isn't this a bit too much? Gravenum, this is too much. Sejun grumbled to himself while looking at a piece of paper detailing the growth conditions for the Brown Tower. Brown Tower growth conditions, 08. Tower Farmer A, not achieved. Create at least 9 new varieties, not achieved, 09. Increase the soil fertility of the Brown Tower by at least 50%, not achieved, 40%. Grow 5 world trees, not achieved, 25. Secure at least 10,000 pieces of world's energy, not achieved. Possess 9 divine relics, not achieved, 29. Achieve 5 great achievements, not achieved, 35. Expand the Brown Tower's entrances to 120, not achieved, 65, 120. Not a single one of the 8 growth conditions had been met. At least the number of divine relics and great achievements had somewhat progressed, which was a small comfort. Vice Chairman Theo, I need just 8 more divine relics. Hut, got it, meow. Godnims, we need 8 divine relics, meow. Theo requested the gods, and the gods who received the quest sent divine relics to Theo. Hut, Chairman Park, here they are, meow. Theo handed over the divine relics he had received from the gods to Sejun. Vice Chairman Theo, thanks, good job. Hut, that's right, meow. Vice Chairman Theo worked hard, meow, be very grateful, meow. Yeah. Sejun patted Theo's head in praise as he basked in the recognition. Gravenum, here are the divine relics. Sejun handed over the 8 divine relics he received from Theo to Grave. Gwahaha, thank you. With that, 2 of the tower's growth conditions were instantly fulfilled. As for the rest, Sejun pondered how to fulfill the remaining conditions. If he took Auric around and trained him to be an A-rank tower farmer, that would be 1. Why didn't the fertility increase when I have the kidney beans of soil fertility? There had to be something interfering, just like in the other towers. If he could just eliminate that obstacle, reaching 50% fertility should be more than possible, likely surpassing it, making 2 conditions fulfilled in total. That would bring the count of fulfilled growth conditions to 5. The great achievements, I can definitely achieve 2 more, so that's covered, but exceeding that is uncertain. After a rough calculation, Sejun realized he was still short by 2 growth conditions. The rest would have to be resolved by going to the Brown Tower. Guys, gather around. Sejun called his companions to prepare for departure. Hut gathered, meow. Theo was already clinging to Sejun's lap long before he called. Kyung. Mom, Kyungi is heading out. Chu. Kyungi, who had been enjoying the warmth in pink fur, embrace, gave her a kiss before flying over to Sejun. And then, Kilahit Kaying. Hee butler, let's hurry up and go. The Blackie family came running, holding a sling bag to carry themselves in. Once everyone had gathered. All right, we're off. Sejun bid farewell to the tower residents and set off for the Brown Tower. You have arrived at the 99th floor of the Brown Tower. Kelkelkel, Sejunim, welcome. Upon arrival, Sejun was greeted by Auric, the Brown Tower's tower farmer. Yeah, did you find out what I asked you to? Kelkelkel, yes, but there are no monsters or phenomena disrupting fertility in our Brown Tower. Really? Then why wasn't the fertility increasing? Sejun pondered in confusion. At that moment, Kelkelkel, Sejunim, our Red Goblin tribe has prepared a feast for you on the 77th floor. Let's go together. Here is the land deed for the 77th floor. Huhuhu, shall we? Sejun chuckled as he accepted the land deed Auric handed him. He had regretted not getting to rest in the Golden Tower, but it seemed like he could take a break here. However, what is this smell? Kelkelkel, this is the traditional cuisine of our Red Goblin tribe. Just as Auric proudly introduced the food, that hope was completely shattered. Sejun then remembered. The Red Goblin tribe ate even normal food after letting it rot. On top of that, he recalled the ominous feeling he had earlier. A-rank poison is abundant in the surroundings. Your talent, C-rank poison resistance attempts to resist. Resistance failed. You have been poisoned by an A-rank poison. Life force decreases by 0.5% every second. Due to exposure to strong poison, your talent, C-rank poison resistance, has been upgraded to C+ rank poison resistance. He wasn't wrong. Though his talent strengthened, he wasn't happy at all. G green onion. Pewhut, here it is, meow. Pug. The kind-hearted Theo shoved a detoxifying green onion into Sejun's mouth. Crunch, crunch. Sejun hurriedly chewed the green onion to detoxify himself. I'd rather go home and eat the food Aileen makes. Just as Sejun was overwhelmed with the desire to go home. Kyung. This is not food. The cry of Kyungi, who was greatly disappointed after thinking he would eat something delicious, was heard. Even Kyungi, the glutton who ate almost everything, was rejecting it. No, calling this food was a mistake. It was food waste. This won't do, Gravenim. Just as Sejun was about to tell Grave that he wouldn't accept any requests unless the Red Goblin tribe's traditional cooking was banned. What? Sejun witnessed a shocking sight. The Red Goblins were touching food with their hands, then touching their feet, scratching their butts, picking their noses, and then grabbing the food again to eat. Gravenim, add weekly hygiene education to the list too. If they wanted the Brown Tower to grow into a great tower, Sejun made it a condition that the Red Goblin tribe's traditional cooking be banned, and that they receive hygiene education once a week. A short while later, under the stern command of the Great Brown Dragon, the Red Goblins hurriedly cleaned up the food and attended Sejun's hygiene class. Of course, Sejun wasn't an expert in hygiene education, so he wasn't the best teacher. But I'm still 100 times better than them. The Red Goblins' hygiene awareness was so atrocious that anyone from Earth could have come and taught them, and it wouldn't have been strange. What's wrong with eating something that fell on the ground? Why do we have to eat it within 3 seconds? They were so shocked that even the 3-second rule, where food is supposedly safe to eat if picked up within 3 seconds, felt like a culture shock to them. After the basic hygiene lesson was completed. Puck, you have planted kidney beans of soil fertility in the mana-infused soil. Your job experience increases slightly. Your proficiency in magic seed sowing, master, increases slightly. Kelkelkel, it's nice working together with you, Sejunim. Auric, instead of moving your mouth, move your body. Kelkelkel, but I can talk while moving. Just shut up and work. Kelkelkel, then you should say it like that from the start. Sejun, accompanied by the sneaky and irritating Auric, planted the kidney beans of soil fertility in the soil. By training Auric to become an A-rank tower farmer and increasing fertility at the same time, it was killing two birds with one stone. After about an hour, when nearly 150,000 square meters of kidney bean fields had been cultivated, Gravenum has the fertility increased. Sejun asked Grave. The administrator of the Brown Tower reports that fertility has increased to 40.5%. Really? So roughly 0.1% per 30,000 square meters, if they cultivated another 3 million square meters. It would take some time, but it was definitely achievable. But why hasn't anyone done this before? As Sejun pondered, the administrator of the Brown Tower reports that fertility has suddenly dropped to 35%. What? The fertility had decreased. Worse, it had dropped below what it was before planting the beans. No way. Why is the fertility decreasing? An inexplicable phenomenon. It's time for Detective Sherlock Sejun to step in. Sejun spoke in a serious voice, while putting an elegant red pipe with smoke billowing from it in his mouth. It was a gift from Ramter for helping with the growth of the Red Tower. Its name, Flame Devourer. Inside the pipe was a fire seed that created the essence of flames, allowing it to absorb all fire attribute attacks. It was a 3-star item. As Sejun's detective act began, Pew Hu Hut, then the great assistant of Detective Sherlock Sejun Theosin, will also step in. Meow. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Theo licked the end of his pipe, which was filled with churro. Kyung. Haha, Detective Cunnan is stepping in too. Kyungi also bit down on a pipe filled with honey and declared enthusiastically. And then, Kilahit Kaying. Hee Butler, Detective Capping is on the case too. Blackie, holding an empty pipe in his mouth, shouted as well. Originally, the pipe had been filled with pieces of roasted and dried sweet potato, but as soon as they received it, the Blackie family had devoured them all. When Sejun received the Flame Devourer from Ramter, I, Vice Chairman Theo, want the same thing as Chairman Park. Meow. Kyung. Kaying. Everyone wanted a pipe just like Sejun's. Ramter. Sejun asked Ramter to make pipes that had the same shape and color, but no actual abilities. He then filled them with things his companions liked. And so, with their pipes in their mouths, Sejun and his party set out to find the cause of the declining fertility. They started by investigating the area around the Red Goblin village. What's that smell? Soon, they noticed something suspicious. A terrible stench was coming from the stream flowing beside the village. Is there something upstream? Detective Cunnan, let's fly. Kyung. Using Kyungi's telekinesis, Sejun flew toward the upper reaches of the stream. What the hell is this? A massive pile of rotting food waste came into view, or rather, it should be called the Red Goblin's food storage. No wonder the fertility was low. With such an enormous amount of rotting food waste, it would have been stranger if the fertility had remained high. In the end, the Red Goblins were the main culprits behind the decline in fertility. How should we deal with this? Sejun pondered for a moment. Bubble, bubble. Then he noticed bubbles rising from the stagnant water near the food waste pile. Gases were escaping from the fermentation of the rotting food. I should just blow it up. Snap. Sejun snapped his fingers to create a flame and ignite the waste dump. Whoosh. But the fire was immediately extinguished. Instead, the Flame Devourer, which had absorbed Sejun's fire, glowed red on the surface. Oh. Right, it absorbs fire. Sejun stored the Flame Devourer in his void storage and snap, created another flame. Whoosh. He lit a piece of firewood and threw it into the waste dump. And then, boom, a fiery explosion erupted. Kaboom! This was followed by a massive secondary explosion. The first explosion was from the gases on the surface. The second was from the gases trapped underground. Thud, thud, thud. Chunks of rotting food waste were blasted in every direction by the force of the explosion. Kyung. Of course, Sejun was protected by Kyungi's telekinesis, so he was safe. Hut KCL. Just as Sejun thought the job was done. How dare you destroy my home? A small dung-colored orb shot out from the pile of rotting food waste, dicking, the vile stench hidden in trash, the sin of decay. Kyungi, you wanna eat that? Sejun turned to Kyungi. Shake, shake. Kyung. No way, don't want to eat that, that's disgusting. Kyungi vigorously shook his head. Yeah, I guess that's a no. The stench was unbearable. All right, then K-Kabai can eat it. Sharalang. K-Kabai was visibly horrified at Sejun's words. What? You use the power of decay, so you're similar to that thing, right? Sharalang. No way, that thing and I are on completely different levels, completely different. K-Kabai vehemently protested Sejun's statement. Then, Kaying. K-Kabai, did you just raise your voice at our butler? Guys, hold K-Kabai's mouth open. Sharalang. Nuo, just kill me instead. Blackie, enraged, forced K-Kabai's mouth open, just like when Sejun had made him drink the great growth elixir. This was why you need to be mindful of their behavior in front of the others. Thus, within Sejun's family, it was decided that K-Kabai would eat Dickin. Bastards, how dare you mock me? Poo off. Dickin, enraged, released a putrid stench in all directions. A visible yellow miasma spread outward. And then, I can't take this. Kyungi, just get rid of it. Kyung. Herbalist Park Kyungi has eliminated Dickin, the vile stench hidden in trash, the sin of decay. You have gained 70 billion experience points. 50% of the experience points advanced Herbalist Park Kyungi acquired. Dickin was struck by Kyungi's thunderbolt staff and was completely annihilated. As soon as Dickin, the source of the foul stench, disappeared, the fertility of the Brown Tower began rising rapidly, even though Sejun hadn't done anything. The administrator of the Brown Tower joyfully reports that the tower's fertility has increased to 55%, exceeding the required amount. 2 of the Great Tower growth conditions had been fulfilled. Hut case closed. With a smug expression, Sejun declared the resolution of the incident. Then, Vice Chairman Theo, let's start recruiting employees. Hut understood meow. Sejun began working on achieving a great achievement. This will take some time, right? Since Sejun Company wasn't well known in the Brown Tower, he assumed the process would take a while. However, was it you, the bastard who destroyed our food storage? Kill him. Don't let him live. Residents from various floors of the Brown Tower began swarming toward him in anger. It turned out that the place Sejun had blown up wasn't just the Red Goblin tribe's storage. It was a communal food warehouse. Guys, start hearing employees. Seeing how riled up they were over food, Sejun figured they'd be excellent eaters. A short while later, the Black Tower's full-time employee network and the Brown Tower's full-time employee network merged into one. Chapter 627, Just Drink It. Brown Tower, 77th floor. Hut. Stamp, you have acquired 1 slave. Due to the effect of title, Slave King, all stats increase by 0.01. As Sejun stamped the unconscious Brown Tower residents who had fainted due to Theo, once wake up and come eat. You have fed 1 person to fullness. Due to the effect of title, Saint of Feeding, all stats have increased by 0.2. He raised his stats once more by feeding the full-time employees who had woken up after being stamped. Sejun's stats steadily increased. As a bonus, the number of people left to achieve a great achievement was also gradually decreasing. Moreover, oh, this is really delicious. I never knew eating could be so enjoyable. What I've been eating until now was trash compared to Sejunum's cooking. The most rewarding part was introducing the full-time employees of the Brown Tower to the world of real flavors. It was only natural. After consuming only rotten food, they had skipped the step of merely decent meals and jumped straight to the highest level of cuisine. Ha ha ha, it's like rising from the very bottom of hell straight into the heavenly realm. Sejun swelled with pride as he watched the full-time employees. Meow, Chairman Park's face is getting ugly, meow. Seeing Sejun like this, Theo quickly ran over and kneaded Sejun's face. Your soul becomes greatly fulfilled by the high praise from beings who have awakened to the taste of food. Mental strength has increased by 10. Kaying. Our butler is dying. As the full-time employees showered Sejun's cooking with praise, filling his soul with satisfaction, the Blackie family hurriedly absorbed the excess mental strength pouring into Sejun, converting it into his potential instead. While Theo and Blackie were taking care of Sejun. Kyung, where do you think you're running off to? Kelkelkel, I wasn't running away. Kyungi caught Auric, who was trying to escape, and made him plant the kidney beans of soil fertility again. Kyung, if you try to run again, you'll be in trouble. Kelkelkel, I wasn't running away. Kyung, talking back will also get you in trouble. This is how you get punished. Boom. Crackle. As Kyungi struck the ground with the thunderbolt staff to demonstrate what punishment looked like. Yes, sir. Auric finally shut his mouth and diligently resumed his work. After a day had passed, Sejun, who had been taking it easy by hearing employees and providing meals, hit his limit. All stat potential has reached its maximum limit. You can no longer gain stats. All acquired stats will be returned to nature. The once available stat potential had completely filled up, and the stats began to revert. And then, guys, give me a massage. As the reverted stats reinforced his battle aura, muscle pain set in. Chairman Park's face is getting twisted, meow. You can't lose to muscle pain, meow. Theo kneaded Sejun's face. Kyung. Dad, hang in there. Kyungi will make it not hurt. Kyungi also worked hard to relieve Sejun's muscles. Kilahit kaying. Hee, butler, hang in there. Since you're a sunfish, this is the only way for you to get stronger. Blackie also cheered Sejun on from the side. However, Blackie, no roasted and dried sweet potatoes for a week. What came in return was a ration ban. Kaying. Butler, you're mean. Thud. An enraged Blackie pounded Sejun with his front paws, but, oh wow, that feels great. Our Blackie is really good at massages. There was no defeating Sejun, the master of teasing. Kaying. So exhausting. In the end, after exhausting himself in a solo fit of anger, Blackie climbed onto Sejun's chest and fell asleep. Meanwhile, as Sejun's muscle-strengthening technique leveled up, all stat potential increased by 9,000. A little while later, exhausted from muscle pain, Sejun dozed off. Gororong. Kurorong. Theo and Kyungi also curled up beside Sejun and fell asleep. The next morning, all right, let's work hard again today. The group started their business again and, guys. By the afternoon, Sejun suffered from muscle pain again as his stats reverted to nature, and he desperately called out to his companions. Press. As he received massages from his companions again that day, Sejun's muscle-strengthening technique leveled up once more, and his total stat potential increased by 11,000. The next day, not many are coming anymore. The number of Brown Tower residents visiting the 77th floor had significantly decreased. Since no one who had gone to the 77th floor had returned, others became fearful. In reality, they simply hadn't gone home because they were too busy enjoying Sejun's food. A little while later, you have achieved the great achievement of commanding 3 million slaves. You have achieved the great achievement of feeding 3 million people to fullness. Sejun had finally achieved 2 great achievements, completing the goal of accomplishing 5 great achievements. And Now is the time, eat this. The time has come. You're going to grow into a world tree. There's plenty, so eat a lot. Flamey No 91, 92, 93, and 95 simultaneously gave birth to 4 world trees on the 22nd, 54th, 72nd, and 86th floors of the Brown Tower. The administrator of the Brown Tower asks in an excited voice how you managed to grow 4 world trees so quickly. Thanks to this, Grave praised Sejun and was overjoyed. However, it was not yet a great tower moment. There was a small mistake. Flamey had assumed that Auric, who had been with Sejun, must have naturally become an A-rank tower farmer by now. But Auric was still at B rank. Hey, I told you not to slack off. Kelkelkel, I'm not slacking off, I'm just lying down for a moment. His mindset was completely hopeless. There was no choice. Until now, Sejun had been patient since other conditions had yet to be met, but he could no longer let the reputation of Park Sejun, the 3-hour great tower maker, be tarnished. He couldn't wait any longer. It was time to reprogram Auric's mind. Blackie, teach Auric closely. Killahit Kaying. He got it, leave it to the great Blackie in him. Dada. Thud. At Sejun's words, Blackie crept up sneakily and head-butted the resting Auric. Kiyik. The response came immediately. A moment later. Kaying. Auric, deploy. Deploy. At Blackie's command, Auric immediately ran to the field and started planting kidney beans diligently. He'll reach A-rank soon enough. Watching Auric work hard, Sejun smiled in satisfaction. Hell's Pawnshop, Earth Dragon Park Toryong, the demigod guard of the Black Tower's tower farmer Park Sejun, has visited for career guidance. Welcome Toryong. Hell, the god of merchants, welcomed Toryong, who had come for a tour. Yes, hello, I'm Park Toryong. I heard my eldest brother has been indebted to you a lot. This is my gift of gratitude, so please accept it. Thud. Feeling sorry for Hell, who was constantly harassed by Theo, Toryong carefully handed over a box containing 30 bottles of alcohol. Yes, thank you, I'll drink it well. Expressing gratitude, Hell picked up one of the bottles to inspect it. Well-aged golden Samyangju. Samyangju. What is this? Hell examined the unfamiliar liquor. And then, oh, this is. Drinking this liquor increased divine power by 100. Hell was shocked upon seeing the effects. On top of that, it was made by Sejun. A don't ask, don't question, just trust in Park brand liquor. Just drink it. Gulp, gulp. QA. It tasted amazing. Toryong listened carefully. From now on, your big sister will. As the alcohol kicked in, Hell struggled to put an arm around Toryong's enormous body and started explaining about the 2 divine realms he would visit next. They're super tricky, don't get tempted by them. Seriously, you'll be in big trouble. Hiccup, got it. Squirrel, haha. What do you think, my rhyme? However, since Hell had a weak tolerance for alcohol, the conversation quickly became incoherent. Brown Tower, 77th floor. You can make stir-fried spicy pork perfectly now, right? Yes. Good, then that's it for today. Thank you for your hard work. At Sejun's words, the full-time employees of the Brown Tower bowed at a 90-degree angle. It had been 3 days since Auric had undergone mental training under Blackie's watch while diligently working. During that time, Sejun had nothing to do and, Sejunum, please teach us your cooking. Just in time, the full-time employees had asked Sejun for cooking lessons, so he had been teaching them 1 dish per day. Spreading proper cuisine throughout the Brown Tower, Sejun was in the process of changing its residents' eating habits, achieving yet another accomplishment. However, Auric's issue was still unresolved. That did not mean Auric was bad at farming. Even by Sejun's standards, there was nothing to criticize. What was the problem? Kelkelkel grow well. Sejun closely observed Auric as he grinned slyly, while carefully planting the kidney beans of soil fertility. Maybe that laugh is the problem. Though his laugh was highly irritating, the good-natured crops endured Auric's grating voice and grew well. As Sejun watched Auric and pondered for a long time. Oh, something suddenly came to mind. The top tower farmer. There was definitely something about being able to pass on farming skills to other tower farmers. This might work. Auric. To test his hypothesis, Sejun called Auric. Kelkelkel, Sejunum, did you call for me? Auric quickly ran over. He had been hopping to slack off, so when Sejun called him, he wasted no time getting there. Tab. Sejun placed his hand on Auric's head. He did this because when Bachai had passed a skill to him, he had done it this way. And then, I want to pass it on. As he thought about transferring his farming skills to Auric, which farming skill would you like to pass on to Auric, the tower farmer of the Brown Tower? Magic seed sowing. Harvesting. Seed harvesting. A list of transferable skills appeared. The result was somewhat disappointing. Simply passing on skills wouldn't make Auric an A-rank tower farmer. As Sejun scrolled through the list, hopping for something more, D-rank tower farmers enlightenment. A-rank tower farmers enlightenment. Oh, this was it. At the very bottom was exactly what Sejun had been looking for. Without hesitation, Sejun selected A-rank tower farmers enlightenment. You will pass on A-rank tower farmers enlightenment to Auric, the tower farmer of the Brown Tower. Auric's limit as a tower farmer is B-rank. To forcibly promote him to A-rank using the enlightenment, you must consume 5,000 from all stats. Would you like to proceed? So tower farmer rankings had limits. There was a reason Auric hadn't been able to reach A-rank despite working so hard. Yes, I'll do it. Sejun's total stats were around 400,000. Losing 5,000 from all stats wouldn't have much impact. Auric, the tower farmer of the Brown Tower, has been promoted to A-rank. With Sejun's enlightenment, Auric became an A-rank tower farmer. A little while later, the administrator of the Great Brown Tower speaks in a joyful voice, saying, "Well done." The administrator of the Great Brown Tower says, "This is the promised reward." Overjoyed that the tower had become a great tower, Grave handed Sejun a reward. Haha, thank you. After receiving his reward, Sejun said, "Guys, let's go back." He took his companions and returned to the Black Tower. And then, Kuhahaha, it's party time today. The Great Brown Dragons threw a party to celebrate the growth of the Great Brown Tower, once again causing the sales of the dragon market to soar. You have arrived at the 99th floor of the Black Tower. Sejun, who returned home. After informing Aileen Ace, the dragons of the 4 Dragon Society and 5 Dragon Society, as well as the farm family of his return, he went to find Pink Fur. Kyungi, sleep well. Kua Kyung. Heh, Dad, sleep well too. Chu. After exchanging good-night greetings with Kyungi, Sejun returned home and lay down on his bed. But where does my limit as a tower farmer end? Sejun suddenly became curious about his own limits. However, Kilahit Kaying. Hee butler, it's ready. Blackie, holding the world's energy in his mouth, pestered Sejun to go with him to apologize. Kur. Gorarong. Kekirarong. And so, as everyone departed for Blackie's mental world, only the sound of snoring filled the bedroom. The starlight of the night sky illuminated Sejun and his companions, providing an answer to his question. It was not blindingly bright, but a gentle light that pushed back the darkness. The light spread widely across the 99th floor of the tower, passing through the cave where Sejun had first stayed and reaching into the pond. As the light entered the pond, it grew weaker, yet it steadily advanced, traversing the bottom of the pond and eventually reaching the dimensional sea. I'm basking in the same light as Sejunum. Gliding through the dimensional sea, the light even reached flaming. The light seemed to be speaking. This is you, and as long as you do not lose your light and keep moving forward, your limits will cease to exist. Thus, the stars in the night sky offered their own kind of answer. Guardian of fine cuisine, Park Sejun, please get stronger quickly. Among them, Delicious twinkled especially brightly, cheering for Sejun. Delicious had been deeply moved by Sejun, who had spread gourmet culture to the Brown Tower. And, like Sejun, I'll also spread the world of fine cuisine. Decided to shine and spread fine cuisine in other worlds too. The limits of Delicious were expanding as well. Chapter 628, Our Sun Won. Morning on the 99th floor of the Black Tower. Huam. Sejun stretched out lazily as he woke up. Meow. Kaying. After getting Theo and the Blackie family ready, he stepped outside. Then, step, he took a slow stroll around the farm. A long-awaited moment of leisure. Hearing Sejun's footsteps, the crops radiated a fresh glow and grew rapidly. As Sejun walked, breathing in sync with the crops, he suddenly remembered something he had forgotten. The quest to turn the 9 towers into grand towers had not yet been completed. What's going on? It was like not receiving a paycheck on payday, something that should naturally be given but wasn't. Well, then I'll have to ask the boss about it. Deciding to visit the administrator, Patrick, at the 10th tower later to ask, Sejun continued his walk around the farm. At that moment, thud. Kyung. Sejun, good morning. Pink Fur appeared, carrying Kyungi in her mouth. Yeah, good morning, Pink Fur. Our Kyungi sure sleeps well. Kyung. Sejun took the still deep in dreamland Kyungi and brought him to his side, and Kyungi giggled and clung to Sejun's side on his own. Pink Fur watched Sejun and Kyungi with a warm smile, then said, Kyung. See you in the evening then. Yeah. Thud. And with that, Pink Fur headed north. Shall we go eat? Sejun led his group toward the cooking area. What should we eat today? He pondered over the breakfast menu. A little while later. Guys, let's eat breakfast. Having prepared the meal, Sejun called his companions. Hut. As expected, the grilled fish made by the great hybrid Chairman Park is the best, meow. Of course, I made it after all. Hut, that's right, meow. Kyung. Dad, the soybean paste stew is delicious. Kyungi, if you mix the soybean paste stew with rice and eat it, it tastes even better. Kyung. Wow, Dad, it tastes even better when I do it your way. Dad, you're a genius. Kilahit Kaying. Butler, today's roasted and dried sweet potatoes are even sweeter. I brushed honey on this batch of dried sweet potato and dried it again. Kilahit Kaying. Butler, you're amazing. I know. The enjoyable breakfast continued. Once the meal was finished. Kyung. Dad, I made you some coffee. Thanks. Sejun sipped the coffee Kyungi had brewed and started packing lunchboxes for Theo and Kyungi. Today was a workday for both Theo and Kyungi. At that moment, Hut, Chairman Park, give me money, meow. I need to open another location, meow. Theo demanded money. The bag of the legendary merchant wandering the 9 towers connected to a new floor every 30 days, but it cost 1 trillion tower coins each time. Here, since he had plenty of money these days, Sejun handed Theo 1 trillion tower coins without hesitation. Hut, thanks, meow. The moment Theo received the money, he deposited it into his bag and connected to a new floor. Where is it this time? Hut, the 53rd floor of the White Tower, meow. All right, take care. Hut, I'll earn lots of money, meow. As Theo disappeared into the bag. Kyung. Dad, Kyungi will gather lots of herbs too. All right, have a good trip. Kyungi also headed to the western herb field. And then, Kilahit Kaying. Butler, what about my lunch? Blackie trotted over and asked. Here, but if you eat it in advance again, You won't get any more lunchboxes in the future. Kaying. Got it, this time I won't forget. The great Blackie always keeps promises. With a firm resolution, Blackie put the lunchbox bag onto his back. After finishing packing the lunchboxes, Sejun said, "All right, let's go, summon door." Thud. A door leading to the 10th tower appeared before Sejun. And then, click. He inserted the key into the keyhole and turned it, without doing anything else. Now, Sejun had reached a pure physical strength stat of 100,000. Hey Park Sejun, the man with 100,000 strength. Feeling immensely proud, Sejun pushed open the door and entered the 10th tower. If Big Bro were here, he would have stepped on the butler's face for that smug look. Following behind, Blackie felt a bit regretful. Sejun's cocky expression was incredibly annoying. Thus, Sejun entered the 10th tower. The quest has been completed. As a quest completion reward, you have earned the right to obtain the Creator God's tablet. Please proceed to the 7th floor of the 10th tower to claim your reward. Before Sejun could even ask Patrick about the quest, it had been completed. It turned out that the quest could only be finalized by entering the 10th tower. Go to the 7th floor. Reading the message, Sejun moved to the 7th floor of the tower. The 9 pillars in the temple on the 7th floor, now that all 9 towers had been converted into great towers, were all of equal size. Oh, there it is. Floating gracefully above the central pond of the temple was the Creator God's tablet. Hehe, I finally gathered them all. After gazing at the tablet for a moment, Kugagung. He carefully lifted it and placed it into his void storage. Then, Blackie, let's go home. Kaying. Then when do I eat my lunch? With Blackie, who only thought about eating lunch, Sejun returned to the Black Tower with a beaming face. What will happen now that all 10 Creator God's tablets have been gathered? With great anticipation in his heart. 53rd floor of the White Tower. Pew hut, I've arrived, meow. Having reached the new location, Theo looked around. There was a city wall nearby, and many residents were streaming into it, suggesting that this was a large city. Pew hut, I should do business over there, meow. After choosing a place to set up shop, Theo hurried toward the city gate. However, stop right there. Guards blocked Theo's path. Meow, what's the problem, meow? This is the territory of the Snow White legendary merchant, the 9-tailed fox Ariel Nim. If you wish to enter, you must pay a toll. Meow, there's a legendary merchant here too, meow. At the guard's words, Theo suddenly became excited. That's right. Pew hut, perfect, meow. Kelly and Nim, Vice Chairman Theo wants to stamp the White Tower's legendary merchant, Ariel, meow. What kind of nonsense is that? How dare you talk about stamping? More importantly, who are you even talking to? The guards were bewildered as Theo suddenly looked up at the sky and spoke. Just then, Step, are you Theo Nim? Without making a sound, a 9-tailed fox with snow-white fur, Ariel, suddenly appeared before Theo. The White Tower's administrator says you should go to the East Gate right now to receive Theo's stamp and become his subordinate. One word from the great white dragon, that was enough. Pew hut, that's right, meow. Then please stamp me right away. Ariel bowed her head and closed her eyes in front of Theo. Press. Theo stamped Ariel's shoulder, which was about the same size as his own. Pew hut, welcome to Sejun Company, meow. Thank you. And just like that, Theo smoothly gained another merchant under his command. At that moment, you have achieved the achievement of Great Legendary Merchant, who commands all legendary merchants of the 9 towers. As a reward for this achievement, you have obtained 9 trillion tower coins. As a reward for this achievement, all of your stats have increased by 90,000. As a reward for this achievement, your talent, worthless wealth, is enhanced to even more worthless wealth. A series of achievement messages appeared before Theo. Having recruited Red Goblin Merchant Grawl from the Brown Tower yesterday an aerial from the White Tower today. Theo had now brought all the merchants of the 9 Black Towers under his command. Pew hut, this is all thanks to the great hybrid Chairman Park Meow. Now that my talent has been upgraded, I can burn even more money Meow. While Theo once again dedicated all his success to Sejun, a new infrastructure has been established in Sejun Company. A merchant communication network has been installed in Sejun Company. From now on, communication between merchants affiliated with Sejun Company is possible. With the establishment of the merchant communication network, the Sejun Company system was upgraded once again. And then Brown Tower legendary merchant, master of recycling, Grawl. I got extorted for 3 trillion tower coins by Vice Chairman Theo yesterday. Anyone who lost less than me, stay quiet. They started establishing a hierarchy on the legendary merchant communication network, based on who had lost the most money too. Tower legendary merchant, poison immunity master, Choba. I lost 5 trillion tower coins. Silver Tower legendary merchant, gambler, Charlie. HMPH, just 5 trillion. I lost 7 trillion tower coins. Green Tower legendary merchant, Golden Land Turtle, Turbo. Amateurs. I lost 20 trillion tower coins to Theonym. Green Tower legendary merchant, the one who betrayed once, Shark. I lost 22 trillion. Merchants from other towers, keep quiet before me from now on. As the Green Tower merchants dominated the communication network, 2 groups remained silent, the Black Tower and Golden Tower merchants. From their perspective, the amounts the others had lost to Theo were mere pocket change compared to what they knew. Black Tower legendary merchant, walking ATM urine demon. Haha. What are you all even talking about with such small amounts? I gave about 3,000 trillion. If you gave less money to Theonym than me, stay quiet from now on. The moment Urine spoke, the merchant communication network fell completely silent. 86th floor of the Golden Tower. Hamey, our son won. Ho, he really did, didn't he? Watching the merchant communication network, Urine's parents, Udo Demon and Hamey Demon, rejoiced at their son Urine who had raised the family's reputation. 99th floor of the Black Tower. Thud. Sejun placed the Creator God's tablet he had brought from the 10th tower in front of his house. Then, Aileen, what does it say here? He asked Aileen to translate the inscription on the tablet. The tower's administrator says to wait a moment. Hurriedly, Aileen began reading the inscription. 10th commandment: if you gather and combine all 10 Creator God's tablets and offer a price, you can create a new law of the world. What? A new law of the world? Aileen was shocked after reading the text. The implications were tremendous. Creating a new law of the world. It was something that had to be decided with extreme caution. For example, if someone established a new world law stating, from now on, gravity does not exist, then everything would float endlessly in midair. Gravity would vanish. And of course, that wouldn't be the only consequence. The world would fall into utter chaos. Because a single law could have such a profound impact, it had to be chosen carefully. Then if I make the world law Park Sejun is the best, does that mean I become the strongest in the world? That sounds awesome. Sejun was lost in his ridiculous fantasies. The tower's administrator says that in that case, she can stay with you, so it sounds like a great idea. Of course, Aileen was just as irresponsible. The world was facing a crisis. Then let's assemble the tablets. Thud. Since stacking them vertically would make it difficult to pile them up high, Sejun instead laid them flat on the ground, starting with the tablet inscribed with the first commandment. Once he had fully assembled all 10 Creator God's tablets, flash, a blue light shone from between the tablets, and they merged into one. And then you have achieved the supreme creation achievement by gathering and completing all 10 Creator God's tablets. As a reward for achieving the supreme creation achievement, you have earned the right to create a new law of the world. As a reward for achieving the supreme creation achievement, The stay fee for the 0th floor of the Black Tower is reduced by 20%. A new quest has been generated. To create a new law of the world, a great price must be paid. Offer the following tributes to the Creator God's tablet. 10,000 quadrillion tower coins. 10 quadrillion liters of energy of creation. 10 billion L of blood from each of the 9 dragons. 1 trillion scales from each of the 9 dragons. 1 trillion divine power. 10 billion divine relics. Reward, creation of a new world law. A quest message appeared before Sejun. Why is there so much? The path to becoming the strongest being in the world was not easy. Chapter 629, You damn system, at least leave me some money for business. Hell's pawnshop. Water. Hell, who had lost consciousness after drinking Sejun's samyeonju given by Toryong and getting drunk, struggled to crawl out from under the blanket. Roll. As Hell moved, the empty liquor bottles nearby rolled across the floor. Hell ignored them and walked to the table. Gulp, gulp. She chugged water straight from the bottle. Ah, refreshing. With her thirst quenched, Hell finally took in her surroundings and, what happened to my pawnshop? Who did this? She got agitated upon seeing her pawnshop in a state of utter chaos. Ow, ow. Gripping her head in pain from a splitting headache, she quickly held onto her head. A moment later. What did I do? Hell, belatedly recalling the words and actions she had taken while drunk, slumped down onto the floor with a vacant expression. Going to the seed shop headquarters and singing loudly. Dancing wildly, though it could hardly be called dancing, at the combat shop headquarters. All of that was fine. She could handle being teased and embarrassed. But I shouldn't have said that. The slip of the tongue she made to Toryong was too fatal. You have leaked a celestial secret. A fine of 10 billion divine power has been imposed. You are short by 300 million divine power. 300 million divine power from future earnings will be forcibly seized. I'm ruined. Drinking all the liquor Toryong had given her only increased her divine power by 3,000, yet she had lost 10 billion divine power. A complete loss. As she sat there in gloom. No, that's not right. I am Hell, the god of merchants. I never take a loss. Think of a way, Hell, the god of merchants. As she stared intently at 10 bottles of well-aged, golden samyeonju she had yet to open. A sudden idea struck her. Who made this? Trustin Park made it. That's it. This is a liquor made by none other than Trustin Park. That meant it had collectible value. This would work. Hell's merchant intuition told her it absolutely would. Time to make some money. With a confident expression, completely different from just moments ago, Hell packed the liquor and headed to the seed shop headquarters, where Trustin Park fanatics were overflowing. Black Tower, 99th floor. Pew Hut, Chairman Park, I'm back, meow. Theo had returned from the White Tower. Meow, Chairman Park, what is this, meow? He asked upon seeing the massive monument that had appeared in front of the house. A money-eating hippo. Meow, this is a hippo, meow. There's something like that. As Sejun was explaining the Creator God's tablet to Theo. Kilahit Kaying. Hee, butler, can I eat my lunch now? Blackie wagged his tail excitedly and asked in an eager voice. No, it's still far from lunchtime. Kaying. Blackie looked disappointed at Sejun's response. Pew Hut, money-eating hippo, surrender the money you took to our great hybrid Chairman Park, meow. In the meantime, Theo had approached the Creator God's tablet, attempting to extort money from it. Good job, Vice Chairman Theo, take some of it back. Sejun smiled in satisfaction as he watched Theo. It felt refreshing to see someone boldly demand money from a target that was supposed to be taking his money. Sejun laughed heartily, watching Blackie whining for lunch and Theo trying to rob the Creator God's tablet. Then, let's go to the herb field and have lunch with Kyungi. Pew Hut sounds good, meow. Kilahit Kaying. Hee, let's go, hurry. They headed to the herb field, where Kyungi was after a long time. Upon arriving, wow, it's got much bigger. Compared to Sejun's last visit, the herb field had expanded dozens of times. Ah, Kyungi is over there. Kyuiha. Sejun spotted Kyungi diligently tending to the herbs. Swoosh, swoosh. Flying squirrels. A group of 5 white sugar gliders could be seen darting around at an incredible speed, diligently tending to the herb field. These were the very same 5 sugar gliders who had come to rob Sejun's house, only to be caught by Pinkfur. Pinkfur had no desire to see blood spilled on the 99th floor of the Black Tower, so, Kyung, Kyung, Kyung. I'll kill you if it's revealed that you're thieves. I'll kill you if you escape from here, and I'll kill you if the herbs die. With these conditions, Pinkfur spared the sugar gliders' lives. Thanks to that, the sugar gliders these days were looking after the herbs while running around until their feet were sweating with the desperate mindset of, if the herbs die, we die too. And, surprisingly, they had a natural talent for growing herbs, and the plants were flourishing under their care. At that moment, Kyung, Dad, you're here. Having caught Sejun's scent, Kyungi excitedly waved his front paws at him. Then, Kyungi's herb squad assemble. He called for the sugar gliders. Kyuehe Kyung. Hehe, Dad, these are Kyungi's herb-raising subordinates. Mom brought them here. Greetings, Sejun Nim. That guy is Sejun Company's Chairman Park, the richest person in the Black Tower. The sugar gliders, feeling both fear and resentment, bowed deeply at a 90-degree angle in a show of utmost respect. Meow. To Theo, because among those present Theo looked the wealthiest. Of course, if other members of Sejun's family had been around, the outcome might have been different. Among them, the ones who looked the richest were Theo, Black Rabbit, and Peacebees. The bar for looking rich was just set incredibly low here. Kyung. No, Kyungi's dad is this one. As Sejun's face soured, Kyungi quickly corrected the sugar gliders. We're sorry, Chairman Sejun Nim, greetings. The sugar gliders hastily apologized and rebowed to Sejun. HMPH, I need to check if you're even worthy of working in my Kyungi's herb field. Of course, Sejun's pride was already completely bruised by that point. What, if we get kicked out of here, Pinkfur will kill us. The sugar gliders of the herb squad panicked at Sejun's words. However, if you fail 3 tests, you're disqualified. Let's start the first test. Sejun, the strictest man in Sejun Company, announced the test with a solemn voice, paying no mind to the sugar glider's distress. Gulp. Even Kyungi swallowed drearily, feeling nervous about whether his subordinates could pass Sejun's test. And then, first test passed already. Because they were cute. The herb squad easily passed the first test. If they were Kyungi's subordinates, they had to be cute. What just happened? The sugar gliders were completely bewildered, not understanding why they had passed. Now let's begin the second test. Sejun declared, pulling various ingredients from his void storage and sizzle. Started cooking. To be Kyungi's subordinates, they needed to eat well. After all, if someone didn't eat properly when Kyungi was eating, his appetite would drop, and he'd eat 1 portion instead of 2. Anyone who spoiled Kyungi's appetite could not become a subordinate. And so Sejun began cooking. Here, eat. He set up an unlimited buffet for the sugar gliders. Wah, thank you for the meal. The sugar gliders, who had only been eating weed roots lately, felt like they had hit the jackpot and eagerly devoured Sejun's food. At that moment, thud, Pinkfur, who had been training with the Minotaur King, arrived for lunch with Kyungi. Shiver. The sugar gliders trembled uncontrollably at Pinkfur's presence. Good, you passed both the second and third tests. Since the sugar gliders ate well and didn't try to flee even at the sight of Pinkfur, Sejun decided to let them pass the test. Of course, the real reason they didn't run was that they had nowhere to escape within the herb field, but Sejun wasn't aware of that. Kyuehe Kyung. Hey hey mom, eat this. Kyung. You try some too, son. While Kyungi and Pinkfur happily ate the lunchbox Sejun had packed for them. Kivahit Kang. Hee hee, butler, can I eat my lunch now? Blackie, excited, asked eagerly. Yeah, go ahead. Kivahit. Blackie quickly took off the bag he had been carrying and started eating his lunch. Then, Hut, Chairman Park, grill my fish too, meow. Theo, ignoring his own lunchbox as usual, asked Sejun to grill some fish for him. All right. Sejun had already given up on trying to persuade Theo otherwise, so he just grilled the fish while preparing more food for himself and the others. Before he knew it, their gathering at the herb field had turned into a picnic. Once they finished eating, Kyung, Dad, lean on me. Kyungi enlarged his body, making a comfortable spot for Sejun to lean on. Ah, this is nice. Sejun leaned against Kyungi's soft fur. Then, Hut, Kivahit. Theo and Blackie snuggled up to Sejun, finding their own spots. Kuwar, Kirorong, Kirorong. They all fell into a deep nap. Haha, should we sleep too? Sounds good. The sugar gliders tried to sneak into the cozy spot between Sejun and Kyungi, but Kuwar, Pinkfur let out a low growl. All right, I just remembered I have unfinished work. Me too. Suddenly, I feel like working. They jumped up and rushed off to work. Once the sugar gliders left, Pinkfur carefully lay down to provide shade so that Kyungi and the others could sleep comfortably. She watched over Kyungi and the rest of the group with a gentle smile, but when it was time for her special training, she quietly left. A little while later, Sejun opened his eyes, and the others also woke up. Just then, meow, Theo suddenly started waving his front paws around. Vice Chairman Theo, what's wrong? I feel a pull, meow. A pull. It's here. At Theo's words, Sejun's eyes lit up as he watched Theo. Chairman Park, this way, meow. Following the pull he felt, Theo led Sejun to the ginseng field. Then, it's here, meow. Theo pointed at a single ginseng plant growing in the soil. Kyung. This one. Kyungi carefully pulled up the ginseng Theo pointed to. Then, pa. A faint, breathy sigh escaped as a small golden ginseng emerged from the ground. Kyung. Dad, take this, but I don't think we should eat it right away. Baby ginseng. Kyungi handed the freshly harvested ginseng to Sejun. At the same time, you have discovered a clue to becoming an SS rank tower farmer. A promotion quest has been issued. Promotion quest: grow baby ginseng, baby Hishu Wu, baby extreme ice herb, baby extreme flame herb, and baby 10,000 poison herb into fully matured elixirs. Reward: SS rank tower farmer promotion. A quest message popped up before Sejun's eyes. Grow them well. Sejun carefully examined the baby ginseng Kyungi had handed him. Baby ginseng. A ginseng that has gained spiritual energy through an extremely rare occurrence, significantly increasing its medicinal properties. However, it has not yet fully matured, so its medicinal effects are weak. When consumed, all stats increase by 1,000, but the consumer will be cursed by the baby ginseng, causing all growth to halt for 1 year. Usage restriction: level 70 or higher, all stats must be at least 10,000. Grade SS. I should replan it after all. Not only did the quest require it, but the curse that stopped all growth for a year was far too dangerous. Even now, Sejun struggled to keep up with the rapid growth of his allies on the 99th floor. Losing a year of progress would be devastating. Carefully, Sejun stored the baby ginseng in his void storage. Then, all right guys, let's go. Sejun and his group headed home to replant the baby ginseng with care. At that moment, The tower's administrator says to receive these dragon blood and scales. Aileen collected blood and scales from the 9 dragon clans and sent them to Sejun. She was offering either attribute liquor or black beans to the dragons visiting Dragon Market, in exchange for 1 liter of blood or 10 scales. Aileen was even more dedicated than Sejun when it came to completing the Creator God's tablet quest. Yes, thank you. Sejun expressed his gratitude to Aileen and took the dragon blood and scales to the Creator God's tablet. The tablet instantly absorbed the dragon blood and scales, and for a moment, a faint red aura flickered across its surface before fading away. Seed Shop Headquarters. Now, we will begin the auction for this well-aged, golden Samyangju crafted by Trustin Park. The starting bid is 100 million divine power. The bold declaration of Hell, the god of merchants, marking the start of the auction. However, the non-combat gods all stared at the liquor with deep longing, but no one placed a bid. No, they couldn't. The Seed Shop headquarters was growing rapidly, but none of the non-combat gods had that much divine power to spare. Then, how about a starting bid of 10 million? She lowered it to 1/10 of the original price, but still, no one responded. 1 million. Silence. 100,000. With an expression on the verge of tears, Hell continued to lower the starting bid. Starting bid 10,000. I can't go any lower. Also, I'll accept any unwanted divine relics, valuing them at 100 divine power each. This was her last resort. Finally, 10,000. 10,000 plus 5 divine relics. At last there was a response. A little while later. Sold out. Hell successfully sold all 10 bottles of the well-aged, golden Samyangju. Hehe, I earned 679,000 divine power and collected 300 divine relics. She was thrilled as she calculated the divine power she had earned. But then, forcibly seizing 679,000 divine power. Remaining amount to be seized, 299,321,000 divine power. As a newel. You damn system, at least leave me some money to do business. Hell lost every last bit of her earnings to the forced seizure, leaving her broke once again. The system should be impeached. Hell officially joined the movement to overthrow the system. Chapter 630, Get rid of that quickly. Black Tower Kitchen. Soak the leech seaweed. Pip stir-fry the slime meat with garlic, add some sesame oil too. Sejun had woken up early at dawn and was boiling seaweed soup while singing the seaweed soup song with Peacebees. Best seaweed is from Jijing, TL. It is considered one of the best seaweeds. Pip, but ours is leech seaweed. Sejun made some weird jokes in between, but Peacebees responded well. The reason Sejun was suddenly making seaweed soup at dawn was to help the dragons who had donated blood recover their blood quickly. That way, they could donate more often. Hehe. As Sejun and Peacebees sang and cooked. Gorarung. Sejun's clingy shadow Theo was sleeping, clinging to Sejun's knee. Meanwhile, the Blackie family had completely taken over the bed, sprawled out in deep sleep. A little while later. 119:13. It's done. The large pot was now filled with a milky white broth of seaweed soup. Cooking. Sejun began to replicate the seaweed soup, using the ingredients he had prepared. Thanks to this, a huge pot of seaweed soup was made in no time, enough for hundreds of bowls. Aileen from today, serve a bowl of seaweed soup to the dragons who donated blood or scales. He sent the seaweed soup to Aileen. The tower's administrator says okay. The tower's administrator cautiously asks if she can have some too. Of course you can, just wait a moment. For my dear Aileen, I'll make it with love and lots of extra meat. Sejun quickly made a seaweed soup with plenty of meat and sent it to Aileen. After sending out all the soup. Oh, the sun is rising now. Morning had come. Pip, Sejunum, I'm going to sleep now. Let's make another song next time, Pippi. Peacebees yawned deeply, suggesting they create another song next time. It seemed Peacebees had really enjoyed making and singing together with Sejun today. All right, next time let's make a cabbage soup song. Pipihili, yes. Peacebees sleep well. Pip pip, okay. As soon as Peacebees climbed onto Sejun's shoulder, Berorong, it immediately started snoring. Just like Sejun, the entire Sejun family would fall asleep the moment their heads touched something. Once Peacebees was asleep, step, Sejun strolled around his farm as usual. He's still swinging that sword so diligently. Sejun commented as he watched Sejun number 3 practicing his sword swings tirelessly. Sejun number 3 had only 2 days left to live. It made Sejun feel oddly sentimental. Yes, swing to your heart's content. Sejun watched Sejun number 3 for a while before continuing his walk. Kuung. Soon Pinkfur arrived, dropping off Kyungi before leaving. A little later. All right, let's go, summon door. After finishing breakfast, Sejun and his party headed to the 10th tower. Kilahit Kaying. Hey guys, Great Boss Blackie is here. While Blackie proudly announced his arrival to his subordinates. Clang. Sejun opened his void storage. Immediately, the blue energy of creation was sucked into the void storage. No, to be precise, it was being drawn into the Creator God's tablet stored inside the void storage. Sejun had placed the Creator God's tablet inside to conveniently offer tributes. As the Creator God's tablet absorbed the surrounding energy of creation. Puck, your field master has activated. You have planted the destruction devourer seeds into the body of Leviathan, the serpent that summons tsunamis and 12th seed of the apostles of destruction. Sejun planted seeds. Kilahit Kaying. Yesterday, Great Boss Blackie secretly stole a piece of roasted and dried sweet potato from the lunchbox without Butler noticing. Blackie boasted to his subordinates about his daring feat from the previous day. In the end, he had simply stolen from his own lunchbox. Blackie was bragging as if he had done something incredible, even though it was something utterly trivial. Kiki. Kaya. His subordinates, however, were wildly enthusiastic. They gazed at Blackie with eyes full of admiration, listening intently so as not to miss a single word. Once their business in the 10th tower was finished, Sejun and his companions returned to the Black Tower, had lunch, and took a break. And then, guys come in after a little while. Hut got it meow. Kyung. Kaying. Leaving the others behind, Sejun entered the dimensional gate connected to Jormungandr's stomach alone. And then, squirm. The tears of destruction were transforming into destruction Sejuns. How many are there this time? This time, there were too many to count at a glance. Thanks to Flamey luring a large number of tears of destruction, their numbers had significantly increased. 1, 2. Sejun started counting the destruction Sejun. 98, that's the last one. A total of 98 destruction Sejuns. All right, go and harvest those crops. Sejun skillfully lured the destruction Sejuns and made them harvest the crops he had planted. At that moment, Hut, Chairman Park, I missed you meow. Kyung. Kaying. Theo, Kyungi, and Blackie ran up and clung to Sejun. Meow, there are way too many ugly Chairman Parks meow. This is dizzying meow. Theo belatedly noticed the nearly 100 destruction Sejuns and made a big decision. It's time to fix the original meow. Theo decided to spend money to fix Sejun's face once again. Lately, he had been earning a lot, so if he burned through his fortune, he could probably upgrade Sejun's face to a slightly less ugly version. However, meow, where did all the money go meow? The money Sejun had stored in the void storage was nowhere to be found. That was because Sejun, fearing Theo would recklessly burn through it again, had already offered it all to the Creator God's tablet. Meow. Theo was disappointed, but still used the 100 billion tower coins of pocket money. He had to create golden shining front paws and stepped on Sejun's face, but, it's not enough, meow. The amount was far from sufficient to satisfy Theo, while letting Theo knead his face. Kiki, thank you. Sejun collected 20 incomplete creator god's tears that had appeared after the previous 20 destruction Sejun's disappeared. Then, here you go. He immediately sent them to Amila, the first apostle of creation, in exchange for 100 drops of great growth elixir. With 100 drops, I guess I'll do 4 for today. 4 drops each for the others, and 40 for himself. Guys, open your mouths. Sejun once again used persuasion and force to make his companions drink the great growth elixir. Gulp. Then he drank the remaining 40 drops himself. You have consumed 40 drops of great growth elixir. You have gained 400 million experience points. Your lowest stat, agility, has increased by 4,000. Your proficiency in mastery of farming tools LV2 has increased. Your proficiency in mastery of farming tools LV2 has been filled, and the level has increased. Your proficiency in farmer's warm touch LV8 has increased. Your proficiency in farmer's warm touch LV8 has been filled, and the level has increased. Hehe, I leveled up 2 skills today. After Sejun happily checked the messages. Time to get to work. A field master has activated. You have planted the destruction devourer seed into the body of Jormungandr, the world-devouring serpent and third seat of the apostle of destruction. Sejun planted the destruction devourer seed. This time, he did not open the void storage. Since Jormungandr's body was surrounded by energy of destruction, it would be dangerous without energy of creation. While Sejun was diligently planting seeds. Pug. Huh. Suddenly, the ground beneath Sejun collapsed. As Jormungandr's life force dwindled, its body's durability weakened, and unfortunately, the spot Sejun had stepped on was fragile and crumbled. Kyung. Thankfully, Kyungi used telekinesis to catch Sejun before he fell further, but Sejun's body was already outside of Jormungandr's body. And then, wow, so that's the Black Tower. For the first time, Sejun saw the grand appearance of the Black Tower from outside. He could also see the other towers. From this central vantage point, the 9 towers seemed to be encircling destruction, and the 10th tower beneath his feet appeared to serve the same purpose. In reality, Sejun didn't realize it, but the distance between him and the towers was over a light year, an incredibly vast distance. Meaning the actual size of the towers was far more immense than he had ever imagined. Oh, so that's the Black Moon. He could also see the Black Moon at the center of destruction. Although it was the same black color as the Black Tower, it felt so different that it seemed like an entirely separate shade. For reference, Flamey had quickly withdrawn its roots the moment Sejun entered Jormungandr's body, since her power could unintentionally harm Sejun. But is there no up? When Sejun looked upward, thud, a massive portion of Jormungandr's body came into view. It was so enormous that it couldn't be taken in at a single glance. Kyungi, let's step back a bit to get a better view. Kyung. Got it. At Sejun's request, Kyungi moved to a better vantage point where they could properly see Jormungandr's body. After traveling several dozen kilometers, Sejun was finally able to take in the sight of the enormous, pure white serpent. Wow, it's truly massive. Sejun was in awe as he admired Jormungandr's enormous form. He had seen Kabulto's true body within the mental world before, but witnessing something this grand in reality was an entirely different experience. Kaying, I was actually even bigger. Ko, if only my body was here. Blackie and Karara watched Sejun's admiration with regret, wishing they could show him their own once gigantic forms. Y'all. This is me. On the other hand, Kabulto, the youngest and smallest of the group, puffed up proudly, feeling on top of the world for the first time in ages. At that moment, boom! With a loud explosion, blue gas burst from both Jormungandr's mouth and tail. It was the energy of creation that had been accumulating inside, all released at once. There was no actual smell, of course, but he, meow, queuing, kaying. Witnessing the massive burp and fart gas, the entire group instinctively hurried to cover their noses. And then, yal, a burp and even a fart in front of everyone. Get rid of that quickly. A moment ago, Cabolto had been full of pride, but now, overcome with shame, he wanted to disappear from existence. Temple of the Creator God. This time, there are a lot more than before. Amila observed the beads produced during the process of transforming the incomplete Creator God's tears into the great growth elixir. Compared to before, the number of beads created had multiplied several times over. This was because, during the great dragon's hunt for tears of destruction, the beads within the destroyed tears of destruction were absorbed by other surviving ones. With the gathered beads in hand, Creator God, here they are. Amila presented them to the Creator God. Well done. The Creator God poured the beads onto the ground. Find your pair. Chadajak. At the Creator God's command, the beads began to roll rapidly across the floor, merging with other beads that were already spread out. Once assembled, the image was about 10% complete. There were still too many missing parts, making it impossible to discern the memory of the incomplete Creator God. However, this place, the location was somewhat identifiable. So it's here. The image depicted the very place where the Creator God currently resided, the Temple of the Creator God. More specifically, it was one of the many rooms inside the temple, a place where the two of them often played puzzle games together. What are you trying to tell me? There were still far too many missing beads to answer the Creator God's question. Outskirts of destruction. Kyungi over there. Kyung. After taking in the sights, Sejun moved around with Kyungi, exploring the surroundings. Squirm. He personally captured a destruction Sejun. Unlike the smallest tears of destruction that Flamey had been luring in, Sejun targeted slightly larger ones, about 1.5 times bigger. Once transformed, the destruction Sejun. Kyung. Kyungi used telekinesis to lift it back through the hole Sejun had fallen through, sending it inside. It immediately became a diligent worker. Even though its level was low, it was still a highly capable worker, especially since it could even use your field skill. Kyungi, let's catch that one next. Kyung. Excited by their success, Sejun continued searching for tears of destruction of manageable size, turning them into destruction Sejun. At that moment, boom! Once again, blue gas erupted from both Jormungandr's mouth and tail. Kilahit Kaying. Hee, Cabolto, did you fart again? No manners. K. Kurug. Sharaling. Sensing an opportunity, the Blackie family enthusiastically teased their youngest. That's it, from today on, Cabolto is Fart Captain Cabolto. Sejun too joined in. Hut, Fart Captain Cabolto sounds great, meow. Kyung. Kaying. And as always, Theo, Kyungi and Blackie immediately threw in their votes in agreement with Sejun. The surroundings were filled with an ominous energy of destruction, but as usual, the Sejun family was having a great time. Y'all. Well, except for Cabolto, who seemed a bit unhappy.